Hello and welcome to the Poorhammer Podcast, episode 77. I'm your host, Brad. This is my co-host, Eric.
How's it going?
And for the first time ever, this is our other co-host / our actual editor for 90% of the content you have heard and seen, Borrelio.
Hello, I'm ready to not talk anything embarrassing because I'm the one editing this.
That does help.
Fourth try is the charm.
What are you talking about? This is the first try.
This is going to be a long recording. All right, we've brought Borrelio on today so that we can get together and do a big meta question episode thing. Let YouTube comments decide our fate. Great idea if I've ever heard one in life.
I mean, this is kind of a celebration of hitting a pretty big milestone for the YouTube channel, so even if it's a terrible decision, we're gonna stand by it.
That's right, we've hit 42069.
Woo!
Whee!
So this is our 40K celebration episode, and without any further ado, let's run this train off course.
Sounds good. This is going to be a rambly, interesting topic. It's going to be more like our hot takes kind of thing. I've got a drink. Brad's got an energy drink, so things are going to get real wild. And apparently, there weren't just 10 questions as expected. Brad, you slimmed it down to 120.
Yeah, so get yourself a beverage of choice, perhaps 6 of them, and enjoy the next probably 3 to 4 hours because this is going to be very loosely edited.
Okay, so let's start with a fun one. If you had to only keep one of your armies, which one would it be?
All right, Eric, flip your coin.
I think I'd keep orcs. It's just more interesting to me, but at the same time, it's nowhere near done. It's not even built.
You may want to refactor your answer if my wife hears this episode.
That was the other thought that came to mind was, I'm pretty sure your wife would literally kill me if I abandoned that after the amount of work she put into painting the army for me.
All right, so let's go through my armies and knock them out. Necrons, goodbye. Chaos Knight's not even a thought given. We're getting harder. Gene Stealer Cults, I'm going to give up before I even build them.
Yeah, I was like, you haven't really done anything with that yet other than buy stuff.
I'm really excited to build that army. But demons, I'm going to say out of my top 3, demons is the easier cut because while I love myself some Tzeentch...
You could do it with Thousand Sun.
Yeah. So I think it comes down to Thousand Suns versus Drukhari for which one I would keep. And...
Does how good how the army is actually influence something in your decision?
No. For me, like, I played a ton of Thousand Suns when they were not a winning army. I played a lot of Drukhari when they were a broken army. I think I'd keep Thousand Suns because I love basically everything to do with the faction. It's the part of 40k I like, at least for all of 9th edition, and we'll see if 10th shapes up.
Keeping a psychic army in 10th.
That's why I'm hesitant to just not slam pick it. Drukhari having an awful index detachment kind of lowers it too, of I don't know when or if it will feel better. I'm going to say Thousand Suns. I'm loyal to my boys. It took me so long to paint that trim, I might as well keep it, right?
Fair enough.
All right, for you two, our second question. Eldar waifu or Tau girlfriend?
Wow. Eldar waifu. Waifu for life.
Waifu for lifeu?
Yep.
Yeah, Eldar Waifu. Tau is mostly robots, right?
No, so Tau is more blue people with hooves, like a horse.
I'm changing my answer to Tau girlfriend.
He's like, wait a second.
I played Mass Effect.
They've got those interesting large nose cavities. I'm just saying that might be a useful feature.
Wow.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I played Mass Effect. I'm going with Tau.
Fucking degenerate, Brad.
Come on, Eric. Elves are no fun.
I don't think I could do an Eldar waifu. She'd just look down on you the whole time. She would be just so stuck up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting it to be a crazy bitch.
I know your flavor.
Like, I mean...
I know my boy's taste. It's been a long time.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing, so...
Eric, Eldar waifu or orc mommy?
An orc mommy.
That's disturbing.
Luckily, orcs are unisex, so we're okay. You can just enjoy any orc boy all the same.
I see the types of questions we are getting.
Oh, it's gonna be a variety show, all right.
All right, let's move on. What is that idea you thought was really good, but everyone said, you're an idiot, fuck no?
Let's answer this one in relation to the show.
Oh, okay.
Mine are mostly thumbnail ideas that you guys throw off.
True, thumbnail ideas is one for you. And actually, this is a good one.
Yeah.
For Borrelio, the one I said, fuck no, that's a terrible idea, is the $500 episode.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to get you to change it like 40 different ways, and you just didn't have time, and I had the episode like ready to post, and I was like, oh shit, it posted with the temporary one. And then I saw it on the front page of YouTube. I was like, no, you were right. It's actually really good.
Yeah, that one was one of the better ones.
It's our like top viewed video of all time with that thumbnail. I'm like, nope, I was very wrong in calling you an idiot for that thumbnail.
Thumbnails are so difficult. It's ridiculous how much of a pain in the ass it is.
And you have to make them look good in a tiny size, so it's pretty hard to do them.
I mean, I've got one that apparently I'm just wrong on, and that's the audio volume.
Oh, yeah.
I think we are way louder than we should be.
Eric does not play things at a normal human volume. Everything in his house is whisper quiet.
Yeah. At this point, I basically listen to our videos at like 2% in Windows and almost to the left on the YouTube slider.
Yeah, I'm the same. My headset, if I put it over 10%, my ears explode.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm just wrong because everybody's just kept saying, no, it's gotta be louder.
Okay, so the one that I think is a running thing with me is doubting the episode topic's ability to make people enjoy it. I have wrongly called pessimistically several of our best episodes.
Yeah, you have.
The psychographics episode I thought no one would be interested in. I thought the math episode would be our lowest performing episode of our post-boom period.
Our audience is just built different, Brad.
It's true.
It's true.
But... I mean, a few of the things that you've had pessimism on are understandable because they're topics that we easily could have fucked up.
I can't believe the math episode was successful and was like a moderately normal episode.
Yeah, a decent amount of that was the editing, so thanks, Borrelio.
I think the only ones I correctly pessimistically called, I knew Infinite and Divine was like an 80% chance to flop just because it's an old book at this point and every channel has covered it.
Also, we got fucking torpedoed by 10th.
True, but that was also just it was the patron decided episode. I don't care if those episodes do well. It's their reward for paying to keep us running, so.
And it was still a fun episode to do anyways, so.
It was a good book.
Yeah.
But that would be one I think I get wrong a lot.
Alright, moving on. What's your opinion on 3D printing?
We're for it. So we have multiple 3D printers in our group. I don't own an army that doesn't have 3D printed models.
I just have no issues with 3D printing.
It's straight upside. Some people don't like 3D printing because they feel a weird loyalty to a brand.
And I can understand if you're directly ripping the exact print.
Sure. If you're like trying to do the like scan in and just have the model for cheaper.
Yeah, that I can understand that there is like, yeah, that's kind of scummy. That's not like there is intellectual property that you're basically just stealing at that point.
At the same time, every one of my Forge World Dreadnoughts that I 3D printed would have been a disaster had I bought them in resin, and then they got deleted from the game. They lasted, 9 months after getting paint on them?
Maybe, if you're lucky. But there's the other thing that, like, there's so much beyond the just direct copy of a model in 3D printing for this hobby that, like, yeah, I'm very much for 3D printing, even if it's just for bits. I want Keldor Drago's sword back. Honestly, if our playgroup had the printers that we have available now, I don't think I would ever gotten into Grey Knights because I would have been in Orcs and I would have just printed the models that I just couldn't get a hold of because during that time, you couldn't buy the Orc models.
Also, you're not using these models in tournaments.
Yeah, and even if I was, I would feel no guilt. I have no problem with taking my Soul Grinders to any tournament on Earth because if you look at my Soul Grinder and the GW Soul Grinder and I ask you which one you would rather pay for, there's no chance you are going to pick the GW Soul Grinder.
Yeah.
Also, there's the resin problem, man. People are generally understanding, right?
Yeah, that's one of the things is like even in tournaments, Warhammer's not this like...
It's not as gatekeepy as Magic, where with the Magic tournament, how dare you walk up to me without $40,000 in your pocket?
Yeah.
That's an entirely different topic that we could do.
So, oh, here's an editor question. How much has your skull involuntarily expanded from the hosts making you understand TGE topics? TGE?
The.
Duh?
It's THE.
Ah, understand the topic. Oh, okay. I mean, I'm
Not at all. Warhammer is simple.
no,
Yeah. Actually, I think I've lost quite a bit.
no, but seriously, Warhammer, the more I see some data sheets and stratagems, most of the abilities are +1 to attack, plus -1 to defense. There's no, let's say you're gonna play Dota or League of Legends. There are quite complicated abilities like a black hole, a chronosphere, and I was looking at Warhammer and I was kind of missing this.
Yeah, so what you're talking about is stuff like the stuff that was mostly removed from the game because it takes so long to manually do, but things like flamer profiles and stuff.
And a lot of that would also be what Death Guard should have, but they don't, so...
Oh, that's why I'm wanted to pick up Death Guard as my first army. They sounded pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, we have a later one about the army you wanted to collect, and I think it does go hand in hand with your opinion on current 40k stuff of Death Guard is kind of just data sheets. It's in a real bad spot. It has no identity, no complexity to it. It's just play the models.
Yeah.
The painting stuff, I was pretty surprised by, but I think I'm taking it very well so far. But I'm just on the surface, so it might get more complicated in the future.
Well, just you wait until Brad starts explaining lore.
So the next question is, what would you personally spend a $1,200 tax rebate on for the Warhammer 40k hobby? Instead of an answer, I have a counter question. How the fuck do you know about my Gene Stiller Cults purchase?
Wow, you got a hell of a deal from what I've seen you stack up there.
It's less than that, I think.
Really?
It's shockingly cheap because of our store discount and everything, and I went with mostly value boxes. I could do the numbers, but I think it's like literally only like $500-600.
I doubt that.
Oh, it's more than 600. I forgot I bought all those Necromunda kits.
Yeah? I was like, there's no fucking way you got 600.
I forgot all the stuff I bought for kit bashing. Yeah, so my question is exactly on point then.
Yeah.
I bought a lot of extra kits that are just going to be bits.
Fucking hell.
This is not going to be a cheap army.
No, it's not. No. I mean, it could be the $500, $600 army to your wife if that's what you're trying to sell, but...
You can't fool my wife is the problem. She knows.
That's what you get for marrying a nerd. What inspired you guys to start the armies that you have?
Eric, I think we've talked about yours on air, but go through them real quick.
Yeah, started with orcs because, I mean... Have you seen the orc armies? They're just so cool. I love the junkyard aesthetic, man. It's just like, it's my jam. And then had issues with actually obtaining those models. So psychic spells are just big brain. And so moved into Grey Knights. Worked out pretty well. Still a huge fan of them. Hoping that they get their psychicness back at some point. But yeah, I mean, then got back into orcs as like my next one. Just because... Orcs for life.
And in AOS, you also have...
Orcs.
So then for me, Necrons I got into because I was leaning between them, Death Guard, and AdMech as the armies I liked the looks of most initially. My one buddy liked Death Guard, our other buddy was already collecting AdMech, and I said, screw it, I'll take Necrons and we're good. Then second was, I learned I liked demons. I started buying like demon secondhand stuff off eBay. This was like peak COVID, nothing in stock anywhere in the US. Very hard to get any model. So bought some stuff, but not a ton. That was my pseudo second army, but it kind of just sat in boxes for the most part because my third army, which is more my second army, was Drukhari, which I got into just before the Codex hit for 9th edition. And then I got really into them because I finally found a fun faction because Necrons was not it. It was not into the things that I liked in 9th edition. It was trying to push very boring spam warrior lists early on, and it was just an awfully written codex. Then I got into Thousand Sons, which is hilarious. This was an accident. I bought my brother's Thousand Sons Start Collecting box and my buddy's because my buddy got it for a Death Guard soup list he didn't end up running, and my brother was looking at them initially before going into the Space Marine and Custody direction. So I bought both of those, and I bought them initially just to soup in with my demons because I really like Tzeentch, and it kind of ended up ass backwards, and I ended up being much more of a Thousand Sun player who soups in demons on rare occasion because there's just not much to demons. And then from there, I ended up with some Chaos Knights because I thought they'd be fun to soup into the rest of my Chaos pile of stuff. And then Gene Stealers would be the newest one, which it's going to be something I don't actually work on for another probably 6 months to a year, but that'll be the future project. And then on the AOS side of things, technically I own all the demon factions, but that's cheating.
That is cheating.
And then I own Seraphon, which I got the half that looked halfway good earlier, and now I'm buying into the new refresh half that I actually already 3D printed most of. That'll be an episode at some point.
If all of those models were released when we were getting into this, and
we wouldn't play 40k.
Same thing with the Skaven, we would be AOS primarily.
Yeah, we would have never touched 40k. Never would have cared about it. I wouldn't know what a Space Marine was.
And then Brilio, you're just starting.
Yeah, I was thinking on picking up Death Guard as my first army. They look cool, but I'm kinda hesitant because they are really bad.
Them being bad isn't really a problem. The problem is they are flavorless, bland, have no enjoyment in them, and that's a good reason to be hesitant. If it was just they're currently bad, which they also are competitively, that's less of a thing to concern about because in 6 months the meta will be entirely different and you'll have no idea if they're good or bad.
But them behaving like they are, you're waiting for a codex, essentially.
Yeah, your actual concern is real. Have you looked into AOS much?
I've looked into AOS, but if I actually start playing it, I think it would be harder to find players to play AOS. I don't know. So
true. That's a lot of the reason why certain people end up in certain games is finding a play group in the first place.
Yeah.
If all you've got locally is 40k, you're not getting into AOS because you're going to paint your models and then they're going to sit there.
It's going to be real tough, yeah.
If you go to an LGS and play with your friends, in the end, what your friends are playing will influence you more in what you get into and what armies you buy. So as I'm getting into 40k, I have two friends that are getting into 40k too. So we are deciding together what we are going to play. So for now, I'm going with Death Guard, but that could change.
And again, we did an episode on this. You can get into them part way and go, no, I'm not really feeling it. Leave them to the side and go collect something that you're feeling more into.
Yeah, and what I like about Death Guard is that all the models are interesting to me. The other factions, I like part of them or I like one model in them. But Death Guard, I think all the models look cool. So that's what is pushing me to it. But also, I don't know if I want it as my first army since I don't know how to paint yet. So maybe I pick some Necrons first just to train some dry brushing and get used to paint.
There's a good discussion in there. My instant reaction hearing that is don't do Necrons. My reason is from a play standpoint. They're both slow defensive armies. Necrons is shootier in most cases, and Death Guard leans more melee oriented, but they both switch hit, and they're both just defensive slow armies. And I worry if that's the two factions you owned, you would not feel enough difference between them to justify them both.
But tell me if this is a bad idea. Don't buy a full army of Necrons, just a few models to learn how to paint, and then go to my faction, because I never painted a single model of any brand, so...
My argument there is Necrons are super easy to paint because you don't paint them like normal models. Necrons tend to be dry brushed. You can paint a Necron in a minute and 20 seconds. I don't know if that's going to teach you as much as just going with a different faction that you like the looks of but care less about the initial quality. I would also say don't let the anxiety of, oh no, my first models will look bad, stop you from collecting an army, because my first Necrons don't look like the rest of my army. I will never touch those models because, again, I'm a huge believer in never redo your first models. You'll like them way more when you have them in 5 years and you go, that was my first models. Keep them around no matter how bad they look.
Yeah, but I kind of want to have Death Guard to display on my shelf, so I want it to look good.
And you can keep buying more Death Guard and put the good ones up front, and then you can have your bad looking ones over in the corner and go, look, my first models.
Not everybody has such a disposable income and a lack of understanding of money as you, Brad.
Absolutely.
But it's also not that difficult to undo bad painting.
Yeah.
Fire get rid of it.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Okay, next question.
What's your recording schedule like?
This is a good one for all of us. It's changed over time. Nowadays, it tends to be midweek we record. Later in the week, we record if I hate Borrelio that week.
Yeah.
Or we do midweek for one podcast, and then later in the week for the second podcast if we're doing a 2-podcast week. So like Wednesday through Friday. And then I require the editors to get me an edited audio copy by Sunday night, or at worst Monday morning, so I can review it, give them back feedback so that they can fix it, and I can post the episode Monday night, because technically Tuesday is our release day for audio, I say, but I post it on Monday night. And then now that we do videos, then Borrelio, you just switch straight over to editing the video.
Yeah, after I do the audio for Monday, I switch to the video, and pretty much as soon as the video get edited, I send to Brad so he can review and post it. So it varies when we post, like it could be Wednesday or Tuesday, it depends on the week. But pretty much all the free time I have after editing the audio goes to the video, so we can post as early as possible.
Yeah, we used to post videos on Fridays.
Which is still possible, but
It's our backup day. YouTube has very strongly advised us not to post on Friday because it says that people who watch our stuff don't watch anything on Saturday.
yeah. And like the whole algorithm basically has problems of like, yeah, they watched the first day, but they didn't watch the second day, so we're just going to kill it there.
Yeah, so we tried to make Thursday our normal launch day so that the first 2 days are very popular, and then when day 3 is a bummer, it's a bummer. And to be honest, like, Wednesday release dates work better for us. It does lead to more people watching the video early, which leads to more people being shown the video, blah, blah, blah. Point is, audio's Monday, video's like Wednesday, so it tends to be about a 7-day turnaround time from us hitting record to you guys seeing a video of it.
And that's why we don't cover news or anything like that.
Yeah, tons of big news in Warhammer this week, especially on the 40k side of things. By the time we record this episode Friday night, because we had to gather all these questions this week, and then it gets edited and the audio comes out on like Monday night, so you hear it Tuesday when you drive to work, or you see it Wednesday or Thursday. It's so old at that point. That's why we don't cover news stuff for the most part, unless it's like super big and we just want to give our opinions on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question. Does new oil taste better than Agrax Earthshade?
I don't know, Brad. You're going to have to answer this one. I have not painted the paintbrusher liquor approved sections.
Okay, go over to Trapped Under Plastic and ask John and Scott. I don't lick my fucking paintbrush like an animal, all right?
You don't actually lick it, Brad. You just twist it with your lips.
Oh no, they lick it with their tongues. I've seen those guys. All right, here's a quick one. Do you have a P.O. box we can send minis or cursed bullshit for memes? Yes, we do. We do not post it in the description on the YouTube channel. If you go to our actual website, solysingleton.com, it is in the contact section. You can see the P.O. box there.
But we don't put it on YouTube because there's bots.
Yeah, the second I type it on YouTube, it's all over. We'll get 45 pieces of junk mail a day and I'll have to get a new P.O. box.
Yeah.
I am all for you guys sending us stuff. Just make sure you send us an email and go, hey, I'd like to send you blank. Would you guys be able to make use of this? And then I am probably going to tell you, sure, just tell me when you're shipping it.
Right.
This one's a quick one. Question for the editor. Do you play Warhammer or Magic the Gathering? If so, what army or what is your favorite color or color combo?
Favorite color combo should be Izzet. That's blue and red. That's a pretty aggressive color combination for the most time, but can also play control, like with counter spells and draw spells.
It's very interesting you went with it's very aggressive most of the time. In my head, it's control and is occasionally a tempo deck like in Legacy.
It's a combo deck that plays control a bit, and sometimes when it fails, you may as well just tempo them out.
It is first and foremost the combo pair in my head. You are right, because it's Kiki Jiki combo, Splitter Twin, and all of them.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty flexible color combination, but the way I play it the most is with tempo aggressive decks, like blue-red spells matter, but I appreciate all the colors because I have a cube, so that's a collection of a billion cards, so we can draft and play with the same collection. So I spend a lot of time looking at all the cards and all the colors, so I kind of got appreciation for all of them. So, but when I go to my comfort food, I go with blue-red.
Have y'all had any experience and opinions on other war games?
Stay tuned, Literally a few weeks from now, we'll have an answer on that on an episode.
Also, I've played some Axis and Allies back in college, but we'll have a more interesting one.
You really didn't get laid.
Fuck off. I was a physicist. No shit. On a more serious question, how's the show financed?
So, this one is actually like worth going into for everybody interested. First of all, everyone who edits for us is an independent contractors, first of all. There's a max amount we can pay them a year before we have to start considering them employees, and then I'm fucked.
Yeah.
So the way the show is financed currently, we have a Patreon, which is our steady income. That's at patreon.com/SullySingleton.
Oh, I see why this question is here.
Yeah. The Patreon is our more guaranteed income. Currently, we also monetize the YouTube. The Sully Singleton YouTube does not make any money.
I think we made $8.
We haven't made enough to hit a payout yet. No, that's not going to happen anytime soon. The Poorhammer YouTube does make money now. That's why we were able to increase what we pay the editor. It's going well, but we're constantly afraid that something is going to go wrong with it, so we haven't really used that as guaranteed money yet.
I've heard enough horror stories of YouTube channels tanking what their expected income is.
Yeah, so that's a newer revenue stream we're not really used to yet, and we don't consider it very consistent, so we don't tend to plan around it. Currently, we have a stable of editors, of which Borrelio does 90% of the work for the last, I want to say, like almost 6 months now.
And all of the video work.
And he is the only video editor, correct. So if you see a video, Borrelio edited it. For audio, we have a stable of like 6 editors currently. That's the back end of how all this works. We're looking into possible other revenue stream things. We'll get there. But for now, just know that you see ads on YouTube, you're getting us money. You have YouTube Premium, you're getting us a lot more money. You're a patron, I love you.
The Patreon is the revenue that we kind of are able to bank a little bit more on.
Yes, it is a much higher consistency on what we get there. I feel like we could get further into this topic and it would be interesting, but I'll try to keep it shorter.
Yeah, let's move on to, oh, okay. This is... Am I insane for spending 2 hours per Hormagaunt model in my Tyranid army? I am planning on painting 120 of them, and I am at 20.
I mean, since he's at 20 years old, he has his entire life ahead of him, so he might accomplish his task before retirement.
That's not... Yep, you're right.
I mean...
You're right. That's exactly what that meant.
You can also look at, like, your benefactors and your, when you die, you know, your legacy is those Hormagaunts.
Yeah?
You're not wrong.
You're fucking crazy. All right, up next we've got how/where do you store your armies for easy access, i.e. able to get them ready for the game, not just storage? That is a solid question. We get to cheat because we have a setup that no one else has.
We have a dedicated group of players that all meet at the same place.
Yes. So my brother's basement is where our play group tends to play. We've got a couple tables down there with a bunch of terrain we painted up over the last few years, and we just recently all chipped in to turn his entire one wall of his basement into IKEA shelving.
So that's where we store them.
We have very sexy cabinets that stretch 30 feet long that have all of our armies in them. Well, not all of them. They have about half the armies in them because as a play group, we own way too many models.
Yeah, you own way too many.
So does my brother. He is also to blame.
That's true. I forget about it because none of them are painted.
It's true. They're an eyesore and they're in cabinets that they should not be in.
We have also done a bunch of Office Depot plastic boxes and then lined the bottom with magnets.
Yes, that came originally from God Almighty Duncan Rhodes. Duncan Rhodes did a video on that very early on in his channel. Very good video. Essentially how we did all of our boxes for storage that we used for traveling stuff between houses and all that. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Get yourself a bunch of cheap N52 magnets online, like Magnet Baron or somewhere. That's a US company. I don't know where you go in Europe. Good luck.
Yeah, just glue some to the bottom of the bases.
That is a great way to store models. And those are airtight so you won't get dust all over them.
Yeah.
Okay, so when are you guys going to start selling awfully made merch at abhorrent markup and calling the line Forge Wardrobe? I need my Rhinos Are Free shirt.
Okay, so first of all, I'm copywriting that Forge wardrobe. You no longer own it.
Yeah, that's how that works. Definitely.
Second of all, we're looking at alternative revenue streams that are coming up.
Interestingly, it won't be awfully made.
It will be very well made.
We've looked at a few awfully made ideas, and
we had meetings this week with a entity that will be made apparent in a few weeks to months, depending on how long this takes.
I am not sure if we'll get the Rhinos Are Free shirts, but that is funny, and it is going to be something we'll think about.
Okay, here's a legitimate thing for our audience, because this came up in my meeting. We do not, like up to this point, we do not have any merchandisable imagery, if that makes sense to you. We don't really get fan art in or anything like that. We're not like crazy like some of the big channels that get that. At the same time, we've never really asked for it. If you're a fan of our show and watching a weird 3 to 4 hour long video, most likely, or audio of us answering weird questions that you guys have asked, you are probably the target demographic to do fan art. If you have a talent and want to sacrifice yourself to the dark gods, I'd love to see fan art of us, especially if I can pay you for it so that then we can turn it into merch for us. We've never asked for that before, but consider this us asking for it.
I feel like you're getting orc mummies and Tau GF artwork.
But I'm okay with that art too, just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I do love me an orc. What other games besides 40K would you like to play, or in fact, do you play?
So let's do not tabletop stuff. Let's talk video games. We had a couple people ask a variant on this, and most of them were interested in like not Magic and 40K. They know we play that.
I mean, there's an obvious one of Path of Exile, seeing as that just finished up a Exile Con with some interesting news that we were both talking about.
Yes. Path of Exile was up for debate as a secondary podcast before we ended up doing the 40K one. So
yeah,
there's an alternate universe where there is not a Poorhammer and there is a podcast on crit.
That's what it would have been named.
It's still such a good name, and it's Peacock when it's shortened because it's the same as Power Charge on crit. Oh, it's so good as a podcast name.
We've really failed with Sully Singleton.
Terrible name. Don't make the alliteration for your company S.S. It's real bad.
Poorhammer podcast is a bit better, but PP is still problematic.
PH tends to be what we go by for Poorhammer. We really don't use the podcast in our title that much.
It's true.
What do you play, Borrelio? You play a lot of Dota, we know this. I'll bring up his hours played. Hang on.
I just came back to Dota because they did a patch a few months ago.
Just came back. Do you know how many fucking zeros are at the end of hours played there? You didn't go nowhere,
I just
son.
came back off of a 2-day break, Brad. I can quit whenever I wanna.
7K hours is not that much.
It's more than I have in PoE, and that's an unhealthy amount.
But it's nowhere near the most that you've played a video game.
It's not. It's still second place.
By a large margin.
So I pretty much play multiplayer games for most of the time, like Magic, Dota, or whatever my friends are playing. Like I played Hearthstone for a bit, but I'm here and there I also pick up some single player games like Elden Ring, Hollow Knight, and other titles that are good.
That are good.
Not like some shitty titles like StarCraft or...
Oh,
True.
hey now, what the fuck? Remember, I'm the one that pushes the button for you to get paid.
And that's all he does on this show, in the entire back end. So for me, for a list of things I play, Final Fantasy XI, I have an ultimatum from my wife.
I was like, you no longer get to play that.
Final Fantasy XI is beyond methamphetamines on addiction level. For more healthy things, I only have a cool 4,000 hours in Path of Exile. Elden Ring has a 250, 300 hours. Total War 2 and 3 combined is 300 something hours. Satisfactory, hundreds of hours.
Civilization. Did you guys play Civilization?
A bit. It doesn't hook me as bad as some other things do.
I have not played the latest ones. Since 6, I haven't been a huge fan.
The Monster Hunter franchise, I have several thousand hours in. Kenshi, probably my top review game of all time. I think I put it higher than anything else from a pure enjoyment standpoint.
So Dark Souls?
I'm not a big fan of Dark Souls. I liked Elden Ring specifically for where it went away from Dark Souls. Monster Hunter is a better series in my opinion than the Dark Souls series. They're two close series, right? They're very similar in how they function. I prefer Monster Hunter style over Dark Souls' style, and Elden Ring has moved away from Dark Souls' style in ways that make it much better for me, to the point where I put like 300 hours in it.
Okay, so Klonoa,
What's Klonoa?
Last of Us,
I've played Last of Us, but no, bad game.
Ratchet and Clank.
Ratchet and Clank, awesome. Childhood right there.
Give me one more, Eric.
I mean, I can cheat with Factorio.
I haven't played much Factorio. I'm immune.
Oh yeah, that's true. You were Satisfactory. I'm a fucking degenerate with Factorio.
Modded Minecraft gets us both.
That's true, yeah.
Modded Minecraft. Whoo! Patron Discord, we rotate games between like Modded Minecraft, Satisfactory, Valheim server. These are things that we circle between every couple months.
But yeah, I mean, Factorio is definitely a problem for me. I've had few of those, hey, it's 5 o'clock in the morning.
Hey Weebs, I've got a question for you. Have y'all ever seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, spelled wrong, or One Piece?
I actually don't like JoJo.
I know you don't like JoJo, but I do. Not liking JoJo is very normal.
I can accept, like, from an outsider perspective, I can look at it and go, yes, I understand why people enjoy that.
It's somebody else's favorite anime, but not yours.
Not me. But One Piece.
I think anime has great ideas and great starting points, but they last like a few episodes and then the story doesn't progress very well. The author is forced to overwork and their story is not very well crafted after some point, so...
These are problems that are very common in shonen and other
Bleach.
long-running series. Things that are pressured to continue making money, and I agree with you.
Not only shonen, you can look at simple titles like Bunny Drop.
Any slice of life keeps going beyond what it should.
Yeah, Slice of Life is best for like... Which one did you just defend?
Kaguya-sama.
I knew that was the one you would defend. It's that you like it more. It's the same thing. Actually, Eric, while I have you on air, I need you to commit to finishing up Wano Arc in the next few weeks so we can do something related to actually podcasting. It's a thing I've had in mind.
The next few weeks. It's a long arc.
It's a long arc, but it's only like 200 something chapters. It might be 400.
It's not 400. I'm about 200 chapters behind.
Only 200 chapters.
It was a 4.5 year long arc or something.
It's been a while. Because, like, I stopped because I was like, oh, this is going to be like I assumed it was going to be like we're getting to see it, and then something's going to happen, and they're going to get thrown off to some other island and do something else. And then that didn't happen, and it kept not happening. And I was like, oh no, I guess that's like the actual arc. Fuck. Maybe I should have just kept up with it.
Yeah, you got to finish it in the next couple weeks here.
I can probably do that.
I will say, as a weeb, CSM, super annoying that it means Chainsaw Man and Chaos Space Marine. I'm just saying it's very annoying with my hobbies.
Wow.
Speaking of, the next question.
What will happen to us, the firstborn Marine fans? Are we doomed to extinction? Should we be confined into 30K? HH. Are just boomers that can't accept change? Or should we give up with our beloved squatty Marines and look a greener field within a different faction, CSM, a Xenos faction, or other?
My answer to this is you're already indistinguishable from Votann. Just hop 1 degree over in art style. Or slap on some chaos symbols and just play them as short CSM. Or Rotten Horse Heresy retirement home that you deserve so much. I already see you have a Imperial Fist profile pic, so you're going to fit right in.
Got 'em.
So next one, if you could make your own game format, what would it be? Would have model limitations, terrain limitations?
How fascinating.
Soon. There's a big project that's been worked on for a while. Soon.
It'll be a full episode with, like, topics and stuff. What side of chaos does Chicka Fujiwara choose, or is she her own chaos god?
All right, only one man in this discussion is capable of answering this. This is the entire reason Borrelio is here, if I'm being honest.
It's a good reason.
So Chicka from Kaguya-sama Love is War. She's the ultimate chaos character, right? She's not predictable. She does random stuff. So Zinch is the obvious answer. She doesn't stink, obviously, so she can't be Nurgle. She is not red, so she can't be...
Corn. That's the perfect
That's valid.
logic.
That is sound logic.
And what is the other gods?
Slanesh, the sexy time excess god.
Yes, there are other better waifus, so she can't be Slanesh also, so Zinch.
Alright, this one. Do y'all still keep up on your MTG cubes? Been a listener and a big fan since the early Sully Singleton days. Thank y'all for the awesome content. Yes, I guess if you're on the Sully Singleton side of things, I do owe updates to 2 of the budget cubes for the year. I'm working on them. They're not fast to do. But yes, we're keeping up on things, but it can be rough to update that many budget cubes in a year.
I think you guys just ignore Universes Beyond, and since that's the only thing that Wizards is releasing right now, there is less to update sometimes.
Oh, it's been amazing. They haven't made a set in months because they
Yeah.
they spent all this time doing this weird promo thing for something that just doesn't exist.
Lord of the Rings followed by Doctor Who. Thanks. I don't have to waste my money.
Alright, we've got an editor question. What are some tics, oddities, and weirdness that Brad and Eric do while recording? Also, how much effort, frustration do some of these things take to edit out?
You can find out by going to the Patron and getting some bonus content.
That's not a bad answer, but the worst of it you get rid of, which is my ending my sentence with, I'll do a perfect cut. Everything's right. I've done a lot of editing myself, which is how I know all this shit. And then for some stupid reason, I will then go, after I'm done talking.
Another big one is starting a new topic with, so.
Eric is the king of tangents.
Oh, that's true. I take pride in tangents.
There's a good bonus content that's coming out in the next few weeks of Eric pissing me off.
If you hear Brad going mad out of nowhere, that's because 10 minutes of Eric going on tangents were cut it out.
Brad's just trying to start the fucking episode, and I'm just like, nah, man. It's not gonna happen. We're not ready yet.
But yeah, honestly, if something gets rough to edit, I can just cut it. So I don't get pissed at it.
That's true.
That is a nice and very powerful tool.
And to be honest, you're like the 4th generation of editor now. The true worst of it was when Eric and I were editing the first couple seasons of Sully Singleton. We're like 300 plus podcast episodes into recording nowadays, so it's not as bad as it used to be before your time.
We have figured out a few things.
We're infinitely better at talking.
Yeah.
That being said, this episode is already 1 hour and 15 minutes long.
Don't worry, we'll make it much longer. Next, what's your music taste like? Eric's music taste is like he was born in 1960.
Okay, so very much I do actually listen to everything.
It's true.
And it's to a point that my repeats are, it's Rush, it's 70s.
Yeah, lots of 70s and 80s in your...
Yeah, but it's one of those that, like, I very much do enjoy listening to everything. Country, I don't listen to as much, but I still listen to some stuff. And I haven't listened to much hip-hop that's newer, but the 90s stuff, that I still jam to that.
More R&B era.
Yeah.
I've been listening to more and more podcasts, which kind of takes away a lot of time that I used to spend listening to music.
That's fair.
That's a similar thing that I've got, is more and more of my time I'm listening to music without actually like listening to it. You know, it's just like it's on in the background. I don't spend as much time sitting down and actually enjoying music.
Do you guys listen to something while playing Warhammer?
No.
No?
No, you have 5 other people trying to harass you the whole time.
If it was up to me, yes, there would be.
You can force it in, Eric. You just say, Alexa, play, blah, blah, blah.
No one has that in our friend group. We're a bunch of tech-oriented people. We use shotguns when we say technology. All right, let's move on.
We didn't go to Brad. What is your music interests like, on repeat for the next 10 years of the same fucking song?
Is this where we inform the Warhammer audience of what I'm like?
That you're a goddamn psycho?
I have very static music tastes.
The only reason it changes is because you're threatened by your wife.
It's true.
Because you've literally tortured her enough that she's just like, no, stop it. You can no longer listen to that one song.
So, I have very static tastes in music. I will listen to a set of songs on repeat as the only music I listen to for literal years. And then one day I'll just snap and decide I'm done with these songs. I'll find a new set of songs, and those 20 to 80 songs will be all I listen to for the next blank years. I'm not overstating the length of time between these events. At one point in the Patron Discord, I told the story of how my wife just stormed out of the room pissed off after yelling at me because I was listening to a 10-hour loop of Beneath the Mask from Persona 5. And I wasn't aware that it was pissing her off for like multiple days of me listening to it, because I can listen to a...
It's the worst part because you say it's a 10-hour loop, but you put that loop on loop.
I put that loop on every couple days. No, but the real problem was then Eric went through the chat logs because he's an asshole. And he was like, Brad, here's a post of you posting about listening to that song from 8 months ago. And I was like, yeah, and the only reason it's leaving the rotation is it pisses the wife off. Because I would keep listening to it, man.
Oh, it's... The thing is, like, a lot of the songs that you do listen to are, like, solid.
Lots of more background music-y, lots of non-English songs, Spanish, Japanese, all sorts of stuff.
But you just have a rotation of, like, 10.
And yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on, I guess.
I blame my CD upbringing. You own a CD, and that's your CD, and you listen to it on the bus every day to and from school, and that's how music works.
Almost everyone that did that had a, like, little booklet of CDs so that they could change it out each day or so.
No, it was one CD, and then, like, the next year you get your new CD.
Look, Eric, not everyone has a disposable income, okay?
Yeah, some of us were 8.
The time that you're talking about, we had ways of torrenting. Everybody was burning their own mixtapes, so no excuse.
All right, so next question. After my roast, what faction from the larger lore that is not currently in the game would you like to see get made, besides Emperor's Children? All right, so here's the deal. First of all, I want to congratulate you as the first person out of 80 plus people to ask the exact same fucking question.
I mean, it's a good question. So.
It's a fine question, and so many people asked it. I guarantee you we turn it into a full episode in addition to today, just to milk it, because it's clearly a popular topic.
Does Harlequins count?
You could pick Harlequins. I'd say that's a valid one. My answer is set in stone. We all know what I'm going to say. What's mine, Eric?
Dinosaurs.
It is. Exodites. Delete Craft World Eldar, replace them with Exodites, and then make it so that you can replace them with lizards or Skaven instead of elves.
I like how this has no mention at all about deleting anything. It's just like, no, how about you have another one? And you're like, no, let's delete Eldar.
Let's move on to the next question. If you could delete any faction, who would it be? First of all, I'd like to award you as the first person out of like 80 plus to ask the exact same question. You even beat out the version that got liked by everybody else and have 0 likes on your question, which was the original.
The algorithm do be like that sometimes.
So yeah, there you go. My answer for both of these questions, but I'm sure we'll do a larger topic with ideas for this in the future.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. What would I want to delete?
Say Space Marines.
Space Marines is bait. We all know it is. It's too easy.
Honestly, I think I'd delete Knights. Both of them.
That's going to be a common take. I understand it even if I disagree to some extent. I understand the take.
I'm absolutely okay with them existing. They're very cool and they've got that centerpiece. Like, wow, that's awesome. But from a gameplay standpoint, they're a problem.
There's definitely discussion there.
Isn't the spammy armies like Gene Stealers also a problem?
I think hordes can be done right, but they can also be a problem. So, like, your horde armies of Tyranids, your Termagant swarms, essentially, aren't that problematic to even play around just because they're pretty easy to move. They're not the most complicated-looking model. They're not too difficult to, bunch of spindly bits getting in the way of everything. There's also things like Nurglings, Like, you can have a bunch of nerdlings and it's not a problem. But yeah, there's a point.
All right, up next we have, will you guys ever upload something like a battle report or anything like that? Would be really fun to see you guys play a game of 40k and at the same time see your armies.
First of all, I'd like to award you with the first person out of 80 who asked the exact same question.
I'm glad that you did it right at the right time. Thank you for finishing that joke off. I'm proud of you, Eric.
Every once in a while.
So, yeah, this was also question number 3 of the questions everybody asked.
Which is fair, yeah.
It's a fair question. So here's my thoughts on battle reports. First of all, the people who mentioned something relaxing like recording a battle report instead of an episode, you have no idea how much work goes into recording a battle report. Even like a bad battle report that's not well edited, that you're like, ew, this is nothing like tabletop tactics. Those still are backbreaking work.
Yeah.
Battle reports are not fun to make, and I don't think I would want to make one other than we have debated trying to do video footage to do like a how to play 40k episode.
I'm pretty sure that I'm not capable of actually doing a good job of video recording, and I really have doubts on you as well, so...
One of the problems is, one of the major issues is hardware.
Yeah.
We don't have a camera, and your phone ain't cutting it for this type of stuff. The first thing I saw that's like within our budget, that is something I was pretty impressed by, was Bricky and Demeki's new setup over at Dice Check for the new office setup where they use a home security camera thing. Apparently the quality is pretty freaking great on that thing, and it has remote control. That's like the first thing I've seen in our price range. The problem is a lot of the like battle reports, the camera they use is like literally thousands of dollars, and that's like a cheap camera.
And I think that another problem is, honestly, the both of us, we like doing a good job.
Yeah, we take quality seriously, which we'll talk about in a later.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that, like, even when we originally started way back with Solely Singleton, the first episode, it's like...
we overthink every step of quality.
They were not as good as we're doing right now, but we still spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to do as good as we could. But it is one of those, another hurdle for us to overcome is the expectation. Like, I refuse to put out a video battle report from our phones.
I just don't think it's something that our channel would do well. Like, maybe we do it as a one-off event thing, but it's not something we would ever do as a series. We're not built for that. It's not what we do. We're a discussion design thing. We're not pro players. We're both pretty mid. We just know things more from a design angle. This gets into our next thing. In the Warhammer you have both had against each other, who has won more? I think in Warhammer I've probably won more than Eric.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you have.
Eric and I play less often against each other than you guys think. We have a solid play group, but it's not like Eric and I play against each other every game. In 9th edition, when he was maining Grey Knights and I was maining Thousand Sons for like the later half of that edition, I got really sick of that matchup, so we don't play each other as often as you would think.
Yeah, 10th has helped a bit by switching things up. And I've started playing orcs, so...
But Eric is the better player between the two of us in essentially every strategy game. I am good from a game design angle, but I am mid as fuck when it comes to execution. All right, the next one, there's several questions in here, and I thought they were very good. So let's hit a couple of these.
I like your username.
I didn't read that. As the podcast gains traction / funding and potentially picks up sponsors, what's an investment you're looking in to make for the show as a whole? Is there something you have in mind to add or improve the channel? We just did a whole bunch of audio upgrades. Stuff I'd look at right now is...
paying the editors?
Shut up. If we're looking into like upgrades, some visual things would be nice.
I do want to finish setting up the room that I'm recording in so we can both be in the same room at some point for some of our topics. But we actually did do just a pretty big update to our mics, and you got a whole new audio interface.
Honestly, at this point, one of the things I would look into is getting Borrelio editing equipment upgrades if we need them.
Yeah, we looked to the side 1 second and the computer is already like 5-7 years old, so...
Yeah. Okay, so next question here is, do you plan on making more episodes like A Journey to Collecting Drukhari? This is something that we got a lot of duplicates of that were a variation on on, will we get a showcase of Blank Army? Are you going to continue this series with collecting Drukhari? Would you guys ever do a showcase episode? The answer to all these are yes. The episode did not do stellar in view count. I don't care. It's an episode type that is only going to be super big for either huge fans of us or huge fans of a faction who want to see that, or people looking to get into a faction and want to see what an army of it would look like. We'll still do those episodes. It's just we'll spread them out. Our playgroup owns most armies. There's very few we don't have in the playgroup. CSM, Votan, Imperial Guard. I think those are like the main... World Eaters. Those are the main 4 that we don't have currently that I can think of. Everything else we have at least several thousand points of between one of us. So at some point you'll see most of our armies, other than if it's one of the like 6 armies my brother owns, because those will never be painted, so you'll never see them.
It's definitely going to be one of those spread out things, though. It's going to be months between each episode kind of thing.
The next question is, are there any episode ideas you two have really wanted to do but haven't done because you don't think they'd be very interesting to the audience?
I mean, I've got many statistics related ones. We did the math, but I held back a lot.
There are ones we haven't done yet that I think won't do well. It's not that we won't do them, though. It's just I tend to go, okay, this is a risky topic I don't think will do well. We just posted a banger topic, so I'm not worried about not getting money for the month from ad revenue to actually pay the editors or all that jazz.
We're surrounded by good, solid topics.
If you look at our history, whenever you see like a stinger topic, there's usually like a guaranteed good one right before or after it, because I knew, okay, I can try the experimental one and we'll see what happens. And some of them work out. Like, I didn't think everyone would like that Rule of 3 episode. I thought it would be a fun discussion for Eric and I. I didn't know how the audience would react to that. You guys liked it, so great.
We don't really record things that we have no interest in.
No, God, no. If we do something, it's because we wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Whether we think it'll suck or not is different, but that's up to what people on the internet like. But you can be guaranteed if we did a topic, it was something we wanted to cover.
Oh, did anyone have any kind of artistic background or experience before getting involved with the podcast?
This is a good one. This is one to talk about how we even met Borrelio.
Yeah, so I never edited for anyone before. Brad and Eric were looking for an editor for Sully Singleton, the Magic the Gathering podcast. And I reached out to them saying I had a bit of video and audio editing experience doing things for myself. Showed them a Magic the Gathering video I did for me, and they liked it. So how it was in your end, Brad?
So, from our end of things, we sent out feelers to increase the amount of editors in our audio editor stable because, again, at the time, most of our editors were either a fan of the show who just was willing to do work for dirt cheap.
I mean, we did up it a little bit, but yeah, for the amount of time that it took.
But our editor stable was getting pretty unstable, with no pun intended, with how they were able to handle episodes, and we were getting to the point where it was kind of getting iffy to get an episode edited.
Yeah, there were more and more people who were having more responsibilities.
Yeah, the fuck you, I'm not spending 10 hours doing an editing job on my Sunday when it's my only day off work. Yeah, I get that. That's fine.
Totally get it. That's why we stopped doing it.
So I sent out feelers, just asked on an episode, and we got a bunch of people replying. A couple of them actually ended up as audio editors. One of them is Steve, one of my favorite editors of all time that we've ever picked up. The man is a genius at audio editing. Never had a background in it. But Borrelio was in the pool, and he was like, hello, here's my email. English is okay. I'm Brazilian. English is my second language, but I would love to do audio editing for you. And my response was, fuck no. But then the email kept going on, and it was like, and I've done video stuff. And at the time, we had started Poorhammer, and we were looking into doing YouTube stuff, and Eric and I both knew there was a huge thing we could do for Poorhammer. Like, visuals is so important.
Solely Singleton Magic, we could put cards up, and it helps. It did enhance the...
It's like an audio podcast plus. You get a little bit of visual.
But when it comes to Warhammer, there's so much more just because of the hobby aspect that visuals add.
Yeah. So we talked internally, and I was like, do you want to see if he wants to, like, do video editing for us instead of audio editing? Because, like, then we don't have to worry about language barrier stuff or him not catching a bad innuendo that shouldn't be in a final cut, stuff like that. I did not realize how well Borrelio spoke English at the time. He's better than I am. So we were like, yeah, we'll have him try it out. And then we're like, what do you want to make for editing videos? And you lowballed the fuck out of yourself. We were like, sure, we'll definitely try you at that rate.
It's like, yeah, we could do that.
And we have since fixed his pay somewhat, so calm down, internet. But then, you grew from there and ended up being an ace with all the video editing stuff, and then you just started realizing it was easier to edit the audio yourself rather than wait for them to edit the audio for you so you could do the video.
Oh yeah, we did that before. Someone else edited the audio, and I picked up from there to do the video. It was less efficient, so I started editing audio also.
Yeah, and then you just basically took over as the editor. And while we still have our other editors and we use them on rare occasion, Borrelio is like 90% of editing over the last, I'd say, 9 months now, 6 months at least.
Yeah.
So very interesting how things turned out, considering his background was, here's a little thing I put up on YouTube, and Eric and I were like, wow, monkey brain impressed, never done art in my life.
Well, so like at that point, I had tried to do a bit of video stuff, and I realized I have no talent in that aspect. Yeah. Okay, Borrelio, who's more frustrating to work with, Brad or Eric?
Well, Eric does my payments, so Brad.
Hey, there we go.
If we're being honest, it's me, because I'm the one who actually reviews stuff and tells you that you're wrong.
Yeah.
Eric just happily accepts whatever you send. We'd have terrible fucking episodes if Eric was the only one checking things.
Well, that's not true. We'd have less polished episodes. Absolutely.
All right. So the next one is for me. I'm just going to read it. As a loyal crusader of 12 years, I need an in-depth answer on the origins of the Templar hate I see here. Okay, this is the only time on air I will break character.
Sure.
The Black Templar hate, I've admitted this in the comments a billion times now to people who have asked, is there because I need a punching bag faction. Space Marines is easy, definitely the correct answer, because they're poster boys and everyone that's not a Space Marine player hates them and will never pity them. So punching Space Marines, easy game. Why Black Templars in general? Because when feeling out who I should hit, Black Templar players take it the best. They seem to get the joke. So that's why it's you guys. You're taking one for the team. If I need a punching bag for humor.
So would you still hate Space Marines if they weren't the poster boys, though?
As a great follow-up, no, I don't hate Space Marines. It's for humor's sake on the show, and it's because they're poster boys that we do this. Although, Space Wolves is the other thing of I roleplay the Thousand Sun guy, so Space Wolves Thousand Suns. But there you go, character breaking over, back to the masquerade. Now you know your answer.
He still hates elves. Absolutely despises them.
I do. I play elves and I hate elves. Elves are fucking boring. All right, next question.
You're getting to the point where you should start getting noticed by the YouTube sponsor gang. Is there anything you all would want for the podcast? Do you think Borrelio deserves sponsor money for fixing your broken microphone in post, editing your 4-hour recording sessions down to 30 minutes, and all the genuinely absurd work he puts in for this podcast?
How to out yourself as a patron just through your questions.
How did you know we spent 4 hours recording on that 30-minute episode?
Also, how many non-patrons know Borrelio's name before this episode?
That's true.
So, we have been noticed by the YouTube sponsor gang, and in fact, we got the infamous one. We have never taken a sponsor. We are paid for by patrons and random ad revenue, but at some point, you may see us shill out in the future. If we take a sponsorship, I'm telling you right now, no one will ever check an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever into this episode to know this if they're the sponsor. If I am doing a sponsored segment for any reason in the future, I don't believe a word I'm saying. It's garbage. Don't fucking fall for sponsorships and videos. None of us believe it when we say, you should try this new game. I love this character. It's so good. If a sponsorship is real and we like it, I'll work a safe word in, like spaghetti or banana. If you hear those in a sponsorship segment, that's like, you know, Pro Acryl reached out or Monument Hobbies reached out to have us do a Pro Acryl segment or something where like, I deserve money for how much I talk about them in good ways. So unless it's like a real sponsorship of something I actually believe in, which seems unlikely,
yeah,
it's all bullshit. But we'll probably be doing it specifically for money for a purpose if we do it. And it will be with patron permission when we do it.
And it'll be relatively fair. It won't be cryptocurrency tiers.
That we will be above a line of
Oh, okay, no, that's not true. Everybody has a price. If the entire YouTube channel closes the day after we do a sponsorship, our price was met and we've retired.
I'm just saying, doing a sponsorship is like a pride blow to Eric and I. We do not like the idea of it unless it's something like we use Audible all the time. I might actually do an Audible sponsorship without throwing up.
It's
Stuff
possible.
like that.
I mean, given that we've both been using Audible for like a decade now.
There are certain hobby supplies I would be fine with doing a sponsored episode for because I believe in them.
On the whole, though.
But if it's a pride thing and we have to swallow our pride and do a sponsorship, you can just know it was not for an insignificant amount of money.
Yeah. But, you know, again, this is hobby. We've got day jobs. And what are your guys' day jobs?
All right, Eric, do you want to tell everyone about your nuclear physicist degree?
Yeah, that I do software development now.
Yeah, the same as everyone who's a physicist.
Turns out if you get a physics degree, the money's in computer programming. I mean, it was one of those that, like, I probably could have kept going with academia and eventually become a professor, but holy shit, that's a lot of work for very little reward. And Brad?
So, Eric and I both work in the auto industry. We're in Michigan. Eric more vaguely than me. I'm more direct. But there's a reason you will never hear our full real names. I have a somewhat front-facing job with very important people, and I do not need it attached to funny internet videos.
Yeah.
But to give you a vague, slightly inaccurate, but easier to understand version of what I do, I am now management scum. I manage a team of software engineers who work on essentially creating virtual environments to test assembly lines and stuff. And people don't even know what an assembly line is. But
the robot arm thingy, you know, that Tesla showed.
Sure. I hate that explanation a lot.
Are you telling me I didn't fucking nail it?
Basically, I lead a team of software engineers who develop essentially a quality assurance type thing that is based on virtual environments. There you go.
Yeah, and mine is still automotive, but more aerospace nowadays. We do measurements of parts to see if they're good or not.
Yeah, tolerances and stuff.
Yeah.
So there you go. Day job stuff.
Very, very boring.
They're not fun. They tend to lead to long hours, a lot of sit around trying to keep yourself busy in your head while you're doing a boring task.
Yeah.
Or suffering mentally and then dying inside.
But it pays the bills.
So how two software engineers got into 40K?
Blame Bricky.
Well,
there's a longer story. This is a cascade of COVID.
At least for me, I've been into Warhammer Total War games for a long time.
We played a lot of Rome Total War as kids. Then you kept in it, and I just moved on to other games.
And eventually, Warhammer came out for the Total War series, and obviously I was still doing that, so I kept playing that. And at some point, there was a very popular video that went around that sucked Brad into it because of dinosaurs.
So the way it works from my angle, this is kind of the cascade that got Eric into it. We did, at the beginning of COVID, that one off-topic episode to kill a week that was just video games you can play solo.
Yeah.
And that was a fun episode. But Eric brought up Warhammer Total War, and I was like, man, I haven't played a Total War game since we were like 10 or 12. And then, like, a few weeks after that episode aired was Mandalore's video, like his giant video for Total War Warhammer 2, where like halfway through this hour-long video, he's just like, oh, also there's a faction of lizards riding dinosaurs in this game. And I was like, what the fuck? Eric's been keeping this from me for fucking 20 years?
Yeah, 20 years, yeah.
So immediately went upstairs and bought the game. We got into playing it a lot, played a shitload of co-op, and then I was like, man, can't really play Magic anymore with COVID existing. It'd be nice to get into a new hobby. Let's try out Warhammer. I like Warhammer Fantasy in this video game. Let's go check. Oh, it's dead. Okay, it was replaced by AOS. Let's go check out my favorite lizard man. Let's see what the lizardmen. Oh my god. They're so ugly.
They're awful.
And our other buddy was like, oh man, Skaven are cool as shit. And then he saw the Skaven models and he was like, I don't know about this hobby, boys.
Yeah.
And then our playgroup kind of like wandered more into 40K direction at a time where Eric was very busy with other things that occurred during COVID. We ended up getting into 40K because of Bricky's video then that came out, his like double feature giant 3-hour ordeal. Amazing video series. That got us in the door, and then the rest is history, and then Eric followed suit, but he was later than the rest of us. Again, other things were going on.
We were pretty into Magic still at the time, so like having another hobby was like, I don't want to push it kind of thing, like whatever. And then you guys were like, oh yeah, we've got that. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, big brain question. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes.
Is Brazil responsible for this?
Pineapple on pizza? I don't think so.
I think it is.
No, it's just the obvious thing. Like, I'm sick of people trying to say that it doesn't belong on pizza. That's enough of this fucking nonsense. It's good. It shouldn't be the default pizza.
Whenever you question yourself if pineapple belongs or not on pizza, remember that Brazil puts hot dog on pizza.
That's totally fine. Again, I think...
What?
Yeah, these are totally interesting. Like, hot dog and sausage are close. Sausage is on pizza all over in the States. And the Japanese will do anything to a hot dog, so...
Also, I've seen some pretty skeptical sausage.
Yeah, that too.
And it's like, well, yeah.
What you doing there, Papa John?
It technically doesn't look like a hot dog, but I know where it's basically from.
But like, pineapple on pizza, I agree. If I ask for a slice of pizza, and the first thing you hand me is a pizza that has got pineapple on it, that's on you, bro.
It's not the default.
But I may order one that's like, a Hawaiian, and it can be good.
It's absolutely an acceptable option for pizza.
You can get way weirder and still have a great time on pizza. Look at my last time I was in Germany. Those people do weird shit and call it a pizza, man. They don't understand what a pizza looks like. A quartered potato. Just cutting a potato into 4 pieces and laying it on the pizza.
Oh.
Aren't they doing it just to piss off the Italians?
Maybe. So, I didn't know that you were putting the potato on the pizza. I was like, I just had a potato as like the pizza bread, and I put some, cheese and sauce, and I was like, that was a great lunch that I had yesterday. I get it. It wasn't spectacular, but like, I'm a lazy bastard, so it worked out fine. But a whole fucking...
No, like literally cut a potato into 4 pieces and just toss it on the pizza. There was other stuff on there, but that was one of the items when I was like looking at that pizza and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you, Germany?
At least they're not the British.
We just went and got schnitzel that night. It was great. Turkey schnitzel, underrated.
So, preferred method of paint? Airbrush, mix, lap chop?
Airbrush. I actually very much dislike everything other than airbrushing when it comes to painting. And airbrushing is kind of fun.
Airbrushing is top tier. Dry brushing is second to top tier.
It's okay.
Normal painting, like with a brush doing fine detail work, is your taxes. It's the thing you have to do, but I have the least fun with it.
It's basically the thing that I always try to avoid.
Yeah, it's the thing that it's like, all right, I gotta do some trim or a couple edge highlights here or there, or I want to do some detail on this character. But like airbrush and dry brush can solve 90% of paint jobs without having to touch your normal brush.
Yeah, painting like normal is like, oh fuck, it's April 13th.
And to be honest, contrast paints is way more fun than like a normal paint even.
I think they're the same, but...
All right, so up next. This one has a couple questions in it. The first one is just directed at me. How much Warhammer media do I consume outside of the tabletop game? Things like lore, videos, books, video games, Warhammer Plus, battle reports. It's a lot. I don't eat, breathe shit Warhammer, but like I get too involved in my hobbies. I spent the first 2 years in this game basically playing probably 7 years of catch up by a normal person's standards. I've watched most tabletop tactics, battle reports every week since we started playing 3 years ago. People pay us money to talk about this game, but I still will never pay for Warhammer Plus.
At some point, maybe it'll be useful. We'll leave it at that, but right now, fuck off.
Video game wise, I've played most of the games that aren't total trash.
Did you ever actually play the Orc Blood, Teeth, and Shooters?
Yeah, I liked that one. It was okay. To be honest, it was better than the fucking bolt gun game.
It was solidly fun.
Bolt gun overrated as shit. Bolt gun is mid.
Yeah, I'm actually going to try it on the Steam Deck since I just got that and see how that does, because it feels like it should be a really fun game for that.
Yeah, the best 40k video game is still Mechanicus. Nothing else has come close to it. The closest was I like the attempt of Battle Sector. I've got 24 hours in Battle Sector. I finished a couple campaigns now. Finished the storyline for Blood Angels, and I bought the new Orc DLC. I finished that. I finished a Necron one when that came out. It's an okay game. It definitely has all of the promise to be a good series if it gets iterated on and not dropped.
It's got the fundamentals, but
Nothing will touch Mechanicus so far in 40k land. AOS just doesn't have games. There's like that new RTS that like people were doing preview videos of last week.
I feel like Total War counts.
Total War, yeah. If we're counting Total War because it's what turned into AOS, then yes, it's the best game. For other things I consume, books, I'm close to hitting 50.
Jesus
I think we
Christ.
might do a book summary episode thing when I get there. I listen to a lot of books and I listen to a lot of Warhammer books now. Lore videos, less so. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm really spotty on watching Adeptus Ridiculous. I like Dice Check more for like a bricky channel you guys would know.
Are you telling me you don't watch Luton?
Luton's fine. Something I'll put on.
Wow. I would have pegged you for having that on constantly during PoE launch or whatever on the second screen.
All right, there's a bonus question here at the bottom.
Oh, do you or have you ever played Destiny 2? I have played it, very limited. I played a good amount of the first one, though.
Yeah, Eric played a lot of Destiny 1, not Destiny 2.
Yeah, I played basically through Destiny 1 the entire way. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I played Destiny 2 a little bit, and then, I don't know, just kind of like fell off.
How about you, Brelio?
I rarely pick up FPS.
Yeah, that's fair. I played Destiny 2 for like one day when it came out as free to play. It was really mid. It kind of reminds me of my problem with where my favorite FPS games went. Into that weird, grindy log in every day to get your loot box surprise and build up your battle pass and these 45 reminders of different grinds you gotta do.
To me, it looks like Diablo, but FPS.
Yes.
Kinda, but like not as fun as like old Borderlands and Borderlands 2.
Well, that's the thing is like the original Destiny didn't go that far. There were aspects of that, but it felt like there was more Borderlands in the amount of grind where it's like, oh, I want to get this cool thing. So I'm going to spend, an hour trying to get it.
Oh, you want a good FPS game? BattleBit Remastered.
Oh, fuck off.
No, for real.
I know,
I tuned
but
in. Bricky
No.
was streaming it like a few weeks ago. I tuned in. I was like, oh my god, it's old good Battlefield / COD, but just everyone looks like a Minecraft character. It's fucking fun. It reminds me a lot of like our Bad Company 2 days and stuff.
I was like, it's very much like a Bad Company 2 Battlefield game.
Yeah, but it's got a lot of COD feedback, a lot of time to kill equivalent. I like that more than I like. Battlefield tends to be more bullet spongy.
Yeah, it can be. Pancakes or waffles?
Both of them are not good.
What's the correct answer?
Bread?
I am not your answer. You cannot have me for breakfast. I don't care if I touched you. I mean, I didn't touch him.
I will go with bread with cheese, but pancakes, waffles,
All right, Eric, what's your take?
Waffles.
I agree with you, but the real answer is chilaquiles. I'm just saying. A real breakfast. I want my breakfast to kick my ass, cure my hangover, and I don't like sweet, slow, make you want to go back to bed breakfasts.
I fucking love sweets for breakfast, but I do like pancakes with like, toppings and fruits and all that stuff. Waffles take it because they can be reheated in the toaster, and those fucking smash.
I still have a soft spot for Eggo, you're right.
Yeah.
Though, this might be blasphemy to some people. Eggo, with jelly, jam, whatever,
Yeah.
is better than with syrup.
It depends on the jelly and jam, but there is a yes.
There is, you can remember, you have that like memory there that just...
You say memory, and I'm like, yeah, 2 months ago.
Okay, fair. I don't tend to eat these things for breakfast. I don't tend to eat breakfast much, but...
This doesn't say anything about breakfast. It just says pancakes or waffles. 6 p.m.
Calm
is
down,
a
my wife.
perfectly acceptable time for Eggos.
All right. Next question. How many scarabs does Brad own? As in the exact number and a picture of the swarm. I want to say it's like in the 20s, probably like 27, if I had to do a just random guess. We'll find out when I have a picture.
But at the same time, not enough.
I own an illegal amount of scarabs and I will own more.
Yeah.
Are there other general types of tabletop games you enjoy outside of Wargames and TCG? Things like board games or TTRPGs?
I played RPGs long time ago now, and I play other board games occasionally when they come up, but I don't go after them.
Eric?
Yeah, we've played those things, but only occasionally, really.
My answer is really stupid. I don't like tabletop RPGs very much. I have played Pathfinder, D&D, the classics, D&D 5th.
I actually quite enjoyed the Pathfinder, but that was because our DM was actually really good.
From a board game standpoint, I don't play them very often. There's a few I'm big fan. Sushi Go is very underrated for how good it is to get non-game players into playing a game.
Yes.
Seven Wonders, fantastic drafting game.
Love Seven Wonders. I played a lot of that in college.
Last one I played, I think, was Betrayal of the House of the Hill.
I've heard of that. I haven't played it, though.
So I'm going to be at Gen Con next week with my wife because her side of the friend group really wanted to go. So I'm tagging along with. It's not really my jam, but I am purposely going out of my way to play a bunch of games by the company that made Role Player.
That was a very interesting game.
And we own all the expansions now, which I purchased 3 seconds before COVID hit.
Yeah.
So at some point we should play more Role Player now that we have the expansions.
The problem is I look at it and I'm like, I enjoy this more from a theoretical game designer than like actually playing it.
I actually really liked playing it. I know you and I aren't allowed to play the Nottingham game anymore because we kept on winning.
That's sad.
And then Mysterium is good. I am a good ghost. My wife is wrong. Eric always gets my clues.
You're fucking terrible at it. Like, you're actually bad at it. What's the dinosaur one that we played?
Oh, are you thinking of Evolution?
Yeah, Evolution.
Okay, Evolution Climate is an amazing game. My wife does not like that it is a cutthroat game.
It is extremely well, okay, maybe it's just because we played it. It could very much be the two of us. But that was a fun game.
But to be honest, I'm not much of a board game guy. We have these fond memories, but it's like a phase we went through for like a year or two.
So, next one. Are you doing okay emotionally?
I like how none of us can read it with a straight face.
Why is this here? Is this a cry for help?
Is that what that says, huh?
Hey, Eric, how are you doing?
It's going.
Are you doing okay emotionally?
You know, it's not bad. Could be worse.
Welcome to Eric's intervention.
This is the Midwestern. Yeah, okay. It's not bad.
All right, I know the upgrade we need. We need to pay for Eric's therapy.
I'm not sure that there's anybody that's able to handle it. I don't want to break therapists.
Isn't the podcast the therapy?
We're white males in our early 30s. We have a podcast instead of therapy. Men will do anything to avoid going to therapy.
Even host a podcast. I mean, Brad, how are you doing?
Fantastic. Still have my same old anger issues.
Mainly caused by Eric.
At times.
I take pride in that.
All right, up next. As another player who came from Magic the Gathering into the 40k hobby world, would you think it's fair to say that most Magic players have the impression that wargaming is a more expensive hobby? Do you still think that this impression is fair now that you're in this hobby as well? I don't know about you guys, but as a Magic player, I had heard random people always say like, oh my god, you think blank is expensive, try 40k. And I never once believed them as I stared at my singular Magic cards that were worth literally hundreds to thousands of dollars.
I think it depends on where you're at in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. It's the skis versus snowboarding or whatever that everyone always compares stuff to. Magic has the drug dealer that you always got warned about in Dare. The first one's free. Magic will hand you cards to play the game. They want you in because they are the most wretched company in existence for milking you dry. 40k, honestly, the barrier is ridiculously high compared to the cap, even including hobby supplies and stuff.
To be fair, both games have a pretty healthy way to experience. Like in Magic, you can have a commander deck on a price point that you and your friends agree with. In Warhammer, you can pick up slowly as a hobby to paint and worry about the army aspect later.
Absolutely, both of those are true.
So I think you run into problems just if you rush too much into it, like if you are trying to compete.
Yeah, I would say Warhammer has an infinitely lower spending cap. A large Warhammer collection by an experienced player could buy a new car. A large Magic the Gathering collection by an experienced player could buy a new house.
Yeah, the amount of money that you'll spend over a given time period is likely to be more for Magic the Gathering just because of how the design philosophy actually exists. Magic is preying more on the gambling.
I think it's easier to get lost in Magic and spend more than you want.
Oh, absolutely.
It's one of those, like, every week you buy 3 packs or something like that. You know, honestly, it's the exact same idea of, you know, every Friday you buy 3 tickets to the lotto.
Yeah.
Or this card is cheap now. Now I'm gonna buy it because it could be expensive later.
Oh, the value, Eric. The value.
Oh, yeah. So there are valid reasons on why each of the Magic the Gathering or 40K have, like, yeah, this one's more expensive than that one, or vice versa. But, like, it all depends on how you're doing it, and Magic the Gathering does have a more predatory model.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Is painting named characters in the wrong color scheme considered heresy? Specifically, Call and Metallica color scheme. No, it's beautiful. Screw the default colors. Oh my god, it's so much better to paint something in a cool color scheme than to stick to box art.
Yeah, as an outsider, I think the cool stuff is painting in other color schemes.
I feel like it's a Space Marine brainwashing thing that occasionally leaks into the greater sphere of Warhammer.
Hey, Brad, how many loyalist armies do you have?
None, because I'm based.
Ya fucking heretic.
But no, I absolutely paint your models whatever color you want. Our buddy's Call is blue, not red, because his Forge World is blue, not red.
And it looks fantastic.
My Abaddon is Thousand Suns.
Yeah.
And he spends his time now as a greater demon because you can't soup anymore. But
Yeah. For us, it's always going to be rule of cool. That trumps everything, honestly.
yeah, fuck canon.
Yeah.
All right, the next ones are a combo. You two, how's your banter so good? And how did you two meet?
So, a long, long time ago.
Over 25 years ago, going on 30 soon.
Yeah.
Eric and I met in preschool.
It's hilarious that the two of us, best friends, met because our parents forced us together, essentially.
Yes. Both lived out in the fucking boonies. Went to the same preschool and all that jazz.
Yeah.
And then just ended up as friends for life.
Yeah, it just kind of worked out that way.
Roomed together in college, the whole way through.
Been a few years.
Honestly, we toned back some of our arguing on air because we know it's probably uncomfortable for you guys to listen to. But, like, I can swear at Eric for 45 fucking minutes and I don't feel a single negative emotion towards him.
Nah.
But sometimes he's really goddamn wrong.
I mean, you say wrong. I say I'm a fucking troll, and it's fucking hilarious.
To put it another way, I've known Eric for over a decade longer than I've known my wife.
Yeah, actually. And funnily, I've known your wife about as long as you have.
We went to high school together. We didn't date until college, but we went to high school together.
Yeah.
But there you go. Some background info to explain how the hell we know each other so well.
So, Brad, I think 12 inches is too short. What is the question?
So we also said people could give answers and we would give the question. So this one is the answer is, I think 12 inches is too short. The question is, I've got a really good dirty one, but I'm actually afraid of getting us demonetized.
Yeah, I'm...
Do you think I can deep strike here?
I've asked that before.
Can I get in the back of your deployment zone? Hey. All right, next question. How can I be as cool as you guys?
Oh, that's fucking brutal. So we did put together some of the show notes, and Brad's response to this was start with a boatload of depression and self-loathing, and good lord, is that true.
And I knew I was going to hand that one off to Eric to read.
Thanks. Really appreciate that, best friend.
Getting back to the how is your banter so good? When you spend multiple hours a day thinking of how you're going to torture someone.
And people wonder why I decide to randomly off-topic this as much as possible just to piss you off.
All right, up next. What's the most frustrating thing about making a podcast? Conversely, what's your favorite thing about making a podcast? Oh, I know my least favorite thing. It's evolved from the YouTube channel, actually. It's not the podcast part.
The worst thing about the podcast was editing, and we fucking got rid of that, so...
Okay, Eric's correct.
Poorhammer would have never happened if we were still editing.
If we didn't pawn editing off on Christian back then in the Sully Singleton days, season 7 would have been the final season.
That's true, yeah.
We were done. And we didn't have the money to afford him yet, and we just had to do it if we wanted to keep going.
Yeah.
If Eric and I had to make the videos, none of you would watch them, first of all.
They would be terrible.
It would take like 4 months to make one 20-minute stupid-ass episode.
I do almost kind of want to make like one episode where I decide to do the video of it.
Just as like a bonus thing to show what it would look like.
Yeah, Eric edits a video episode.
I'm afraid to put it on the
Because
YouTube. I don't want it tanking us.
It would be terrible. Like, I'd fucking destroy the algorithm.
Okay, so my other least favorite thing that we still do is now because of YouTube, and it's thumbnails.
Oh, fuck thumbnails.
Respect people who make good thumbnails you like.
Yeah.
Thumbnails are a miserable experience to make, especially if you're not trying to do a Ninjan tier 0 clickbait thumbnail.
They make no sense.
I love John to death. I have watched basically every episode he's ever made.
We absolutely watch his videos in spite of the thumbnails he makes.
I have to go against every inner part of my being to click on a Ninjan video.
Also titles.
But, titles are hard. Titles are often me solo, too.
The audience never wants me in charge of titles.
No, Eric's not allowed. Go look at some of our old Sully Singleton episodes. If it's an even number season, Eric was the editor.
And it's all about making the most obscure fucking reference to music.
Just the worst. He made the title for one of them a lyric to a song by Zombie.
Fuck you, that was a great one.
Because we were talking about reanimation.
I actually was pretty proud of that fucking title. So
how the fuck was anyone supposed to get that?
I mean, it's a good song.
So anyway, Eric's not allowed to make titles. But yeah, YouTube titles I'm bad at. YouTube thumbnails I despise. We probably argue for as long making a thumbnail as it takes Borrelio to edit half the damn video.
We go back and forth during a day.
Yeah. And then they'll suck. The episode will start bombing, and we have to come up with like 3 more ideas to try to save it.
Okay, so things you like.
Honestly, it's just kind of nice talking with you.
That's
as fucking stupid as that is.
No, that's mine. Real talk. The podcast is a great excuse to force us to spend time in our adult lives together every single week and talk about things and play games together on weekends and stuff that I hear a lot of other people in their early 30s being like, oh my god, I miss my friend group. We haven't played a single game together in 2 years and shit like that. And it's like, I see Eric every single week of my life.
And I mean, yeah, it is definitely one of those, even if we didn't have this, we'd still do stuff.
Before the podcast days, we would spend an evening a week golfing while talking about cube updates. There was always this, but this is just our current way to enforce it.
Exactly. There was always something like this to kind of push us that extra little bit to actually doing something. And as you grow as an adult, friendships, you kind of have to have that little bit of something to push, or you'll just be busy with work, and then you'll get home and you'll be like, fuck it, I'm gonna sit on the couch. So as dumb as it kind of is, like it honestly is just, it's a nice excuse to just hang out and talk with my best friend.
I'm not your therapy right now, though. You still need to go get therapy.
Oh, fuck that, no. We're in the US. You think I got money for that?
The next question is in Portuguese. Você precisa de ajuda? Do you need help? Wink 2 times for yes. Put Gilman on stream for no.
All right, that's
Thank you.
that's funny. That's very funny.
Thank you. Who wrote? Oh, okay, that's one of the patrons. Okay. It's like, how did they... all right. How much of Brad and Eric's ramblings get cut from most episodes?
I think you get most of it. What is cut is mostly tangents.
And those end up in bonus content, so like the patrons get it all. The only thing patrons don't get is they're spared things like me belching into the mic at full volume, or Eric having a coughing fit.
And sometimes they even get those.
Yeah, sometimes they get those too, but...
What do your hobbying stations look like? Well, I know what Brad's looks like, and it's a fucking disaster. It's his
Fuck you.
kitchen table.
No, that's only one of two. My other one would be the serial killer layer in my basement.
Or the other one, which is the second play table that we should have for playing Warhammer that's now just a random hobbying table because you put a bunch of fucking models on it for 2 years.
I mean, to be fair, we all use it as a hobbying table in rotation now, but I hobby the most.
And you leave the most models on it for the longest.
You're also correct there. I'll take that one.
Try to remind me, where's all of your Gene Stealer boxes?
On that table in my brother's basement.
They are, aren't they?
Suck my balls.
They're just sitting in that box on a table.
All right, next question. What do you think of Auspex tactics? Okay, Borrelio, with both of us staring at you, you must be honest. What do you think of Auspex tactics?
Love his thumbnails. It would take a lot less work to do.
I believe Borrelio was once quoted upon seeing Auspex Tactics' videos for the first time as, "Jesus Christ, why do you hire me? You could just do this in 5 minutes."
I tried for multiple times to push a white background thumbnail on Brad and Eric.
The flashbang.
Yeah.
Okay, so from a realistic standpoint, I respect the shit out of what Auspex does.
Oh, it's a fucking hustle, man. He works his ass off.
I watch a lot of Auspex videos, especially I put them on in the car where I don't need a visual. I know what every model he's going to talk about does anyway because I'm way too into this. And I'll just listen to him sort of like a podcast, but more news oriented. If something happened yesterday, he's going to talk about it. Probably 3 hours after it happened and I'm just watching it a day later.
I'm actually on the other side where like I will use his videos as reference, but I won't watch it as much. I'll basically just scrub through the video, find the spot that it has the text,
the PowerPoint slide,
and I'm like, that's what I want to see because you have a presentation that does so much better at distilling the information than GW has ever done. Thank you.
That has come up on multiple occasions for us making this podcast.
Yeah.
Where you need a piece of information. It's not located in an easy to find article anymore because GW doesn't understand SEO.
Nope.
But Auspex's YouTube video on the subject has YouTube's SEO. So if you type it in, his video will come right up. And he wrote whatever is in that fucking article over again in that PowerPoint. So you can just go find the slide and you can see the day he posted on. And chances are it was only an hour after that article was posted. So you could go find the article now that you know the day it was posted on.
Which, again, like, mad respect for the release schedule and the work put into it.
I have the utmost respect for what he does. He is our negative. We are all about high quality edits. The average episode of us, how many layers would you say is in the editing of that, Borrelio?
More than 10.
So more than 10 layers. That's a lot. There's a lot that goes into making our videos. We go out of our way to have in-depth, opinionated discussions where we talk about our opinions on a subject. Auspex attempts to be objective in all things and not push his opinion into things, and will try to like just vaguely bring up his subjective opinion as like I kind of feel like this, but I could see it working other ways.
Yeah.
He could not be more our opposite and yet a perfect counterpoint / accent to what we do. It is not a shock to me. We have a back end. It tells us our biggest overlap audiences with other creators. Everyone watching us watches Auspex. It is the number one and it's not close. And it makes perfect sense. You go to him for news, objective things. You go to us to see us talking about something a week after we actually said the words in real life with lots of opinion on things.
Or just something completely unrelated to the current news.
Yeah, we're very into alternative programming. Here's a piece of advice. If you're getting into trying to make Warhammer content, do not try to make news. You will lose to Auspex.
Yeah.
You ain't winning that race. And to be honest, we will forever make fun of Auspex videos subtly in our videos.
Oh, absolutely.
We did the flashbang joke when we tried to do a very boring explanation of something and we did an Auspex PowerPoint slide. Thank you, Borrelio, for the idea. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
We're always going to do that, but we do it out of love. I love what he does.
Absolutely respect.
But yeah, it's very different from our style, and I can understand why people are wondering what we think of it.
Any advice for a lack of painting motivation?
Yeah, so if I could answer this, my brother would have painted armies. Let's move on.
So I guess I have something real quick on that. Try the different options of painting There's, dry brushing, there's normal painting with a brush, there's airbrushing, there's different styles to the actual layering you can do. Just try them all out.
Here's something that works for me, actually. Find a Discord group you like who is generally positive on hobbying. Update them with pictures of your hobby sessions so that it's not an alone thing. When you get feedback from another person and they're like, holy shit, that looks great, keep me updated, it fills you with a passion that makes you go back to the hobby table and do the next step, even if you were dreading it originally.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is an ad for the Patron Discord. I'm saying this is go find, if you paint Thousand Suns, go to the Thousand Suns Discord. They're great.
I love the artwork for your avatars. Where did you get them?
They are GW artwork for Grey Knights and Thousand Suns, but I just cropped the models and put a oil paint filter and edited it in Photoshop a bit. That's really all there is to it.
And for the pictures themselves, this is something we haven't really talked about on air, but we were not comfortable using fan art for anything we make. You have never seen fan art in our videos. If you have, please tell me. It means we fucked up. It's not that we don't like fan art. We love fan art. It's that we do not feel okay taking someone's fan art and using it on our production without permission.
Especially because we do have the whole monetization active for this channel. So, I really don't feel okay with monetizing stuff that we don't have the actual okay of doing.
But that's why we always use GW-based stuff. This is unfortunately causing a problem with the merch we're totally not trying to work on. We can't just do what, Adeptus Ridiculous does. I can't just put our avatars on a t-shirt because that's GW's art.
Yeah. We very much do not own that.
So it is something that we might talk about in the future of paying someone to make us modified avatars that are close in design to our originals, but are at least owned by us so we could put them on whatever. But yeah, there you go.
So would you say next step is becoming a VTuber?
Yes, absolutely. I am not going to do that. I am already sweating my balls off. I cannot imagine putting those stupid Velcro balls or the dots all over you so it can do the tracking.
I'd do it.
We are saved.
We're saved.
I'd do it just so I could force Brad to do it.
Okay, so next one. Do you guys have any interest in conversions? You guys say you run out of ideas, but very few YouTube channels talk about conversions. Even just community showcases are rare.
I will say, when we say we run out of ideas, it's very much a lie. We have a lot of episode ideas sitting in folders in our desktops or in our Google Drive and all that stuff. That's all a joke.
Generally, when we say we've ran out of ideas, it's the easy episode that we don't have to put a bunch of effort into.
Yeah, we have a lot of things that take months to come up with the episode, so that's why we make easy episodes in the middle and joke that we have no ideas. Now, for your actual question with conversions, absolutely. I have conversions in multiple of my armies. Doing an episode on conversions is probably inevitable. We're definitely doing one on 3D printing and all that stuff. At some point, if it's a major part of the hobby, assume we'll do at least one episode on it, probably a couple of them looking at different angles.
Yeah, I think we have to get the proper idea and focus on how we actually want to put conversions into a single topic to talk about without just randomly talking about what we've done.
Okay, so what is the weirdest hobby-related injury that you ever suffered?
I mean, we've got a whole bonus episode at some point, I think, of Brad's.
Oh my god, I didn't even think of that. You're right. Okay, I've got 3. Does Eric have any? If not, I'll tell all 3 stories. One of them is well documented.
I actually don't think I've done too much injury.
I don't think Eric's done too much hobbying.
Yeah, well.
Okay, so here's my 3. My worst one is absolutely when I was doing the wings on my Demon Prince, my Tzeentch one that's in my Thousand Suns. That Demon Prince has what looks like normal wings. They're not like the bat wings that demons have. Those are off of a Reaper Mini. Reaper Minis use that awful resin that is essentially exactly what Finecast is, for those who have wondered what Finecast is like. It is like a rubbery resin. It has give to it. If you put an X-Acto knife to it, it will push down and then it will not cut, not cut, not cut, not cut. And then all of a sudden you will cut through it like an anime protagonist with zero friction and slice the mountain behind it.
It very much reminds me of the everybody whole.
Yes.
Now go.
The Dimitri Martin skit.
Yeah.
But I was cutting the wing to get an angle so I could sculpt it onto the back of the Demon Prince. And that scenario played out, and it smashed into my middle finger on my right hand, and I have an amazingly high detail crescent scar across the knuckle where I slashed down to the bone, pulled up a good chunk of my finger, slapped it back down so that the flesh was laying mostly flat, put super glue over it and sprayed it with activator, and then burned myself. Because it turns out you should never spray activator on super glue that is on you.
Did you do all of that to avoid going to the hospital?
I did it in 3 seconds as I went, oh fuck, that's a lot of blood, oh fuck, what do I do? There was no thought.
And yes, the follow-up that a normal person that, doesn't have to worry about U.S. medical bills would have then gone to seek professional help on actually sewing up the wound, but no, he just left it super glued and then continued to apply super glue as needed.
I grew up as a country boy. We don't go to the hospital unless we're dying. I don't go to the doctor. I don't understand that concept. So what I thought was my most weird, embarrassing one was the time I super glued myself to a Great Unclean One like a basketball. But Eric brought up the better one.
There's a better one. There absolutely is. That one's very funny.
That one's just easy because I was trying to do the basing on the Great Unclean One. I was just super gluing them to the base.
And I think everybody has that almost sort of I super glued myself to the model in some way.
Because the Great Unclean One is like a melon. I had him gripped in my hand like you're holding a basketball. And I was super gluing around the base. I had done the first spray of it and I'm adding more so that he's got a good connection before I start doing basing material. But unbeknownst to me, my super glue bottle was screwed up and I was pushing a little too hard.
Yeah.
And it popped at a weird angle and dribbled down the side of the model. I was like, oh, that's annoying. And I kept on doing it on the side away from my hand. And I was like, something feels weird where I'm holding the model. And then I went to put the model down. And I let go and my fingers go straight out. And the model is still there. And then there's just a Great Unclean One next to my hand in midair. And then my wife had to help me pull my hand off a model. And then I had to do some repainting. But she had to pull my hand off a model for 5 minutes while I'm very annoyed getting the skin ripped off my hand.
Yeah.
But no, the real answer.
The funniest answer.
If you pay us money, you can hear it live. I was slightly intoxicated during a Hot Takes for Magic, and I was putting together some fiends for my demons. I had a bottle of plastic cement on my desk as I was sitting there in my boxers, drunk, assembling fiends while listening to Eric and Christian argue about some useless peasant card.
Me and Christian absolutely were talking at extreme depth about a card that really fucking didn't matter.
But all of a sudden, you will hear the sound of this. Oh shit!
It was a little higher pitched than that, but yeah.
I spilled the bottle of plastic cement on my junk. Plastic cement is essentially a weak acid.
Very quickly evacuated the room and we had no idea what was going on.
Actually, I think I had jeans on because if I didn't, I was fucked. And the only reason I knew how bad it was going to be and knew to take it seriously is it had happened to my brother a few months before where he got it on his leg.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And he didn't take it seriously.
I absolutely remember making fun of him for that. And you did as well. You made fun of him as well.
I did too. But then I was sitting there as oh no, my boys. And I'm very plastered.
Yeah.
And I ran across the hall. My wife's asleep to the guest bathroom, dropped trowel, and was desperately trying to clean myself off before I scorched myself. But yeah, then there's the follow-up one.
Yeah.
For later where I give the update. But yeah, that one's probably the correct answer.
I do remember that the series of events of your brother did it and we laughed at him. You did it and I laughed at you. And then a couple weeks later, I did something very similar, but it wasn't as bad. I only dropped a little bit.
My takeaway from this is that I shouldn't hobby naked.
Especially not drunk.
Yeah, no, it's a bad idea. Use the hobby apron at the very least. Then you'll have the naked apron sexiness going on as well. Speaking of, Gussy, yes or no?
What do you guys think about Gene Stealer Gussy?
I have to Google that. I hope.
Don't Google that. Don't Google that. Oh my God, don't Google that.
Do it, and then add it to the YouTube.
Bad news for this commenter. I'm the only person out of the three of us who has watched TTS the whole way through.
It's true.
My wife would definitely have an opinion on this, which would be, boy, no.
So, do you guys have complaints that Warhammer takes too long?
Yeah, kind of.
Yes. I think this gets into the whole greater discussion that'll be an episode topic of why Warhammer is a terrible competitive game.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll have a discussion at some point about it in relation to competitive.
Even casually, it probably takes too long. Not by as much as for competitive reasons.
Yeah, we'll have a further discussion on that, but yes, there are complaints related to it.
All right, next one. Editor, favorite Brad tries to stay positive. Burning background sounds intensify moment.
Yeah, on the episode where Brad and Eric talked about 10th edition spoilers.
Oh, yes, the preview one.
A lot of trying to stay positive happened there.
I can't believe on that Hot Takes episode thing, I guess it was because we had such a tight turnaround time you didn't have time for the joke, but I can't believe you didn't do a rerun on that one.
It was mostly because don't overdo the joke.
Yeah, we'll keep it sprinkled in. All right, Brad, will you do an updated version of the $500 Army episode?
No, we'll never do that again. It's not like I would ever want to redo our most popular episode.
It's absolutely not like you've already started on anything similar.
We are absolutely going to revisit that someday. Originally, I was going to do it before now. We had ideas for, like, in the comments, people had great ideas to do a sequel episode, but then 10th edition occurred, so we kind of just held off. My guess is we'll wait until after at least the first codices drop. I just want to see what the first round of those does before I make it and it's useless in 2 months. I expect it's probably going to be a winterish thing because it's got to be after the fall codices drop. So
I commit to nothing.
But definitely, absolutely, we'll do a sequel.
Brad, why don't you pay the editor more?
Yeah, Brad, why?
Why don't I know your name from the Patreon, random commenter? Checkmate.
Ooh, another one for Brad.
So how much have you spent on hobby in total?
And how different is it from what you've told your wife?
It's not as much as I think I worried about at first because it was so front-loaded.
Oh, I mean, you've absolutely spent more in Magic.
I probably sold more in Magic since we started Warhammer than I've spent on Warhammer. So it's probably still under 10 grand, which I know sounds like a lot to some people, and they're like, holy God. It's on the upper side of 5 grand.
Oh, yeah. I'm closer to 2.5.
Yeah. So it under 10, over 5, somewhere in that spectrum. And it's like, I'm an adult with a well-paying high-end job. I don't own a boat. A boat would cost me 10 times more than this hobby, probably every 2 years.
And we've been doing this for
almost 4 years, yeah.
So, yeah, it's a non-zero amount of money.
And we have the podcast, which I mean, we didn't really use podcast funds to buy this stuff, but like, because we have the podcast, there is more pressure to be more entrenched so that you can make better content.
Yeah.
So like, I would not tell you, the person watching this, to spend that much on your hobbying. The general hobby is cheaper than what I spend. But yes, I have spent a lot compared to a lot of people, but it's still a very normal amount for an adult spending money on their main hobby outside of work.
Yeah.
How do y'all feel about green beans?
I'm for them.
I'm also very much for them. I love some buttered green beans.
I'm good with, you just want some raw green beans, wash them up. I eat the shit out of that. Fry them? Yeah, I'm here for it. Put it in some rice? Yep. Let's go. I'm all about green beans.
They are a delicious mom-made dinner type of side dish. If they're at a party and there's just, a dish of them, scoop them on the plate.
If you happen to be in the grocery store and they're on sale, snag them.
I said get a can. I'm going to get called out for that
What the fuck are you talking about? A can? Delete that.
Just crack open a cold can of green beans, slurp them down.
Okay, so next question. What should I do to limit the amount of armies I collect? Brad?
Yeah, Brad.
Have self-control. Then teach me about it.
Honestly, one thing when it comes to hobbies that can cost a decent amount of money, give yourself a budget monthly and stick to it, kind of thing. If you want to buy a bunch of paint, then that's your monthly budget.
What's the process like for editors to get the podcast out? Do they get creative liberty, or is it pretty formulaic?
For Poorhammer, I'm given liberty to do basically anything, unless it's something that can be shown on YouTube.
Or is just generally something offensive that we don't want?
Yeah, but usually if I go out of my way to do something that is not putting a model on screen, I go and ask Brad and Eric if that's okay, if that's fine.
And to be honest, the ones you don't ask are the ones that usually get me the hardest when I'm fucking reviewing it. Your Astra Militarum IG joke in the last episode had me fucking rolling when I was watching that. But yeah, we basically say it's editor's choice. To be honest, when we had a more balanced amount of edits out of each of our editors before it was mostly Borrelio, I could tell you without knowing who did the episode.
Oh, absolutely.
Every one of our editors has a different voice.
Yep.
How do you guys think I edit? Because sometimes you say to cut aggressively, and I feel like I just leave almost anything in the episode.
So, interestingly, at least for a while, your audio cut had a lot more that was like, oh, it could be cleaned up in a few spots.
Yes, you were more focused on the video, for sure. I feel that even in your current audio cuts.
And then the video was like, oh, you had thought about fixing that for the audio, but just didn't do it. And then as you were editing it the second time, it was like, oh, just cut that part out and we'll put a picture up and it'll call it good.
Yeah, which honestly, for you, our current audience can see it just by listen to an audio episode, then watch the video later that week, and you'll be like, wait a second, there's a couple sentences missing here.
Yeah.
But this is actually a cleaner cut of this conversation. Stuff like that, I for sure notice on your, because you do both.
I feel like having both episodes going out, it's an opportunity to leave one more raw for people who like it, and one more well edited for people who like a most clean cut conversation.
And I will say you are the most daring when it comes to adding something, like a vine boom or a sus sound effect or whatever.
Right.
Which I appreciate. I was worried the first couple times you did it, but I like it, and I have enjoyed the more you've branched out into doing your own edits, like the weird Digimon one where I was like, I don't even fucking understand this. And then everyone but me lost their mind, is like, holy shit, that's the greatest edit ever. I'm like, congrats, I'm out of the loop, but everyone loved that.
I feel like my background on podcasting is a bit different because I listened to some Brazilian podcasts before I listened to some American ones. So in Brazil, we have a pretty big, it was the biggest one for some time, the Nerdcast. And they were really heavy edited, like having sound effects every 5 or 2 minutes and having quotes from shows being edited in. In the American podcast, I don't hear that as much. They mostly leave everything in on a conversation and don't add anything. It's just the conversation.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was always hesitant on for the YouTube aspect of the podcast was like, if we're going to do it, it needs to actually be more than just the audio podcast with picture or a logo. You know,
Yes,
it was like,
yes.
if we're going to do this, it needs to actually be a separate experience that is different and has to prove itself, essentially.
Yeah, and I think it took a while to do the content that we are making, because on the beginning we didn't have much assets ready to put on the videos, like a model, image, background, video. So most time editing was spent like getting those B-rolls ready.
Yeah, this is something I don't know if our audience understands this fact. Every time we show a model on screen and it looks nice and it doesn't have a big chunky white background behind it, Borrelio hand re-alpha'd that image so that it was transparent other than the model. He gets those off the GW website. They do not offer PNGs with transparent backgrounds. That is why no one does this but us.
Yeah.
Because it requires you to hand do it every single time you need to show a new model. If I mention a model for the first time on the podcast, if he hasn't already done it on his own time, he now has to go do it. It is a miserable playable slog.
And for some models that are more recent, it's pretty easy to do since the photo is high quality. But some images, maybe the model have a color skin tone that is pretty light, and maybe the quality of the photo is a little subpar. So the automatic tools that help you do that, maybe Photoshop, maybe an online tool, they don't get it right. So you have to do it by hand.
It is a lot of work, but that's why you've seen, like, if you go back and watch our early episodes and our current episodes, you see so many more editing tricks because less time is spent on the basics that GW should have had in the first place for everybody to use. And coming from Magic, it's psychotic. Like, how long does it take you to put a Magic card on screen?
Yeah, it's instant. You just go on Scryfall, download the image, and put it on the timeline.
Yeah, but you can't do that with a GW model, which is stupid because we know that they're originally transparent PNGs, because when they do promo articles for like the new models coming out, if you open those up, it is the correct PNG that should be on the store page. But on the store page, they use one where they put a white background behind it.
On older episode that I didn't have much time to edit, that I used the image with a white background, that's because whenever a model is mentioned, I stop editing and go treat the image for like the next 5 to half an hour. So it just slow the editing down enough that sometimes it's really hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, even some of the early episodes that you did actually added a good amount to, you know, the actual podcast. But you've definitely been able to enhance it further, like with the more ability to have the B-roll easily accessible because you've already done a lot of the work.
Yeah, now you guys are seeing we are going over the video footage, the animations and the trailers that GW has, and we are getting the B-roll ready to use it when a faction is mentioned, when a painting technique is mentioned. So now that we have these actual files in the folder to make things go smoother, we can stop and do some nice edits, some funny stuff.
Yeah, I think with the easier B-roll available, it gives you a bit more time and leeway to, like you said, have the funny or the more creative liberty, as it were, on the actual edit.
And also there's a lot of room to improve, like with transitions, with datasheets and stats coming up on screen, but that will come up with time.
Yeah. Here's a funny one. Question for the editor. How much B-roll of spinning minis do you think you've had to edit for YouTube? Or honestly, just your video footage in general that you've had to acquire, not the picture part.
I can tell you I have 80 videos still left to be edited on my hard drive, and the ones I already edited, I think are like, must be 100 gigas. Honestly, not that much if you think about it.
Not that much.
Not
Just
that
100
much.
gigs of video footage of models spinning.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, it's a few, 30 seconds of a model spinning.
Yeah.
But, 100 gigs of that, no problem.
What do you think of Henry Cavill's 40K universe?
Sure.
Yeah, that's where I am.
Any type of major kind of Hollywood-esque thing on really any nerd type culture, I have very limited hopes for.
Yes, I have more faith in this because, to be honest, Henry Cavill seems to be one of the most genuinely proud nerds I've seen in Hollywood type industry stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I believe he is genuine on his love for the setting and why he's pushing to do something on it.
But
This will sound cold and callous, but coming from the sheer cold economic standpoint, he is at least genuine enough to realize that this setting is good to make money off of.
right.
That he knows there is a way that it could become a successful franchise. It doesn't matter if someone loves your, Star Wars, Warhammer, whatever, as long as they think they can make a good product that will sell it well to everybody. I don't think, what's his name? Jon Favreau, I think is his name, the guy who made The Mandalorian.
He's the one that did Daredevil, and it had a similar feel, so probably.
And the original Iron Man. But I don't think when he was making Mandalorian, it really mattered how much he loved Star Wars. It just mattered that he was like, I believe I am capable of writing something that will be a good, profitable show.
Yeah.
And I trust Cavall at least with that much. And I still believe he's just a genuinely fun nerd. So he's probably going to be the best person you could hope for to get a hold of this.
But at the same time, expectations are not particularly high just because other things have failed similarly. So hopefully it works out. I will enjoy if it's a good universe.
Okay, so are you all ever looking for more editors?
I would previously have said, yes, we're always welcoming of people who want to try out. That was more when we used our whole stable of editors. I don't make use of people right now who are very talented that I've already spent the time getting trained up and are used to me yelling at them. At some point, I'm sure we'll need more editors. Currently, it's probably further off than it's ever been because Borrelio has become such a, this is what he does, is edit for us.
Yeah, and if ever comes a time where I can't handle the weekly videos and we need more editing power, we're gonna announce on the channel or something like that on a community post.
Alright, since the name is Poorhammer, what's the absolute cheapest way you can think to play a 2,000 point game?
Wait for Tabletop Simulator to go on sale. It's not as fun as in person. It never will be. It has all sorts of downsides to it, but you can do it for free. It's a great way to test stuff.
There's a few Discords out there for active players and stuff like that that you can look into, so...
What grade would you give to the Norn Emissary as a Tyrannid Knight?
The Norn Emissary is just like the bigger Hive Tyrant, right?
It's the new one, and essentially it's a plastic Demacarian, which is what we graded, but we gave it a ton of points off because it was Forge World.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It might get up to an A-.
Eh.
I'll say it's a safe B.
At least a B.
I would have to go rewatch our episode and our grading on other units.
I think it would at least be a B, but whether it's a B plus A-, yeah, we'd have to relook at it.
So what's your third favorite pizza topping?
Third favorite.
That's an interesting one. Ham. No, I disagree with myself on that one.
Cheese isn't a topping, right?
No.
I'm glad we're all on the same page there.
That's a fundamental part of the pizza.
I agree. I'm going to say either...
Where is chicken?
Ooh, that's not a bad one.
That's not a bad one at all.
I'm going to say either onion or green pepper.
Chicken is pretty solid. Peppers are difficult just because, like, I'm so ignorant on them. I look at it and I'm like, that's a green one. Man, this is tough. So the problem is, like, I've got a few that I would say are like top 1 and 2.
And then you've got like build dependence, right?
Yeah, there's like the tiers of like, yeah, these are the top 2 depending on like whatever. And then the third favorite would be like, if I'm going with pineapple, then I want ham. If we're going with pepper, then I want hamburger.
Very good too.
Or sausage. I'd accept sausage as well.
Oh, sausage is my number 2, so...
I think I might accept chicken. Yeah, chicken's my third favorite. I'll lock it in.
That is a solid other option, is to go with like a chicken barbecue or like a chicken...
Chicken's not the best one, but it's always a good option.
Yeah, there are several varieties of pizza you can get with chicken as like the main meat, and it's fantastic, but it's never my favorite pizza.
Yeah, and you can play around with like the actual sauce as well with chicken, in my opinion.
Chicken versatility makes it the third place.
Yeah.
So it's a solid answer.
So, what's your opinion on using real sand as basing material? In my opinion, it makes no sense.
You are correct. Real sand is not a good basing material, and if you use it, you have to make sure to put glue over it to make it feel more like what would be a normal like texture paint, so it looks more like it's at the correct scale.
I think it can work depending on what you're trying to do with the base, but yes, you have to lock it in with some type of top.
And you should probably paint it afterwards, at which point just buy a cheap texture paste. Otherwise, it's going to look like you're playing in a sandbox. It always does. All of the models I've seen, as much as I love our one friend who's an amazing painter, his original AdMech uses like sand and dirt from his backyard and rocks as the basing material. It always looks like a toy. It always will.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but I think that aesthetic can work depending on how it goes.
Okay, next one. For the editor, what is your favorite edit that ended up on the cutting room floor? P.S. The Rhino Digimon edit was amazing. See, I told you.
Yeah.
I think the favorite edit was not an edit, was a thumbnail.
Yeah.
It was for the book review episode, and it was a better love story than Twilight thumbnail, but it wasn't good enough, so Brad changed it.
And then you had the terrible version of it where you had like you did a JoJo edit of Kakyoin doing the
Yeah,
cherry
the letter.
Yeah. That was horrendous.
Every once in a while, you got interesting takes on those thumbnails.
Surpass Eric's ability to troll with a thumbnail.
That's true, which is kind of scary.
Next one. Okay, so this is real quick. Besides yourselves, what other Warhammer content do you consume / recommend? For recommending, I have a ton of them. I really think this one needs to be an episode I would like to do in the near future. I don't know if this is a really stupid episode to make as someone making content, but I do want to make this topic at some point. That is something that I want to do very soon.
So instead of doing this episode, you can also collab.
I mean, who would actually want to collab with us?
Fair enough.
All right. Will you invite Bruva, Alpha Booza, and the TTS crew for an episode? My answer is as soon as they return to being the TTS crew, I will do anything for them.
Okay, so what about co-op video streams like for Space Marines 2?
So this is the comment that made me realize that we could do co-op for Space Marine 2. And I was like, well, I wasn't thinking about it, but now absolutely something I want to do.
I don't know.
We have covered in the past and will do again video games for Warhammer if we find one worthy of discussion. Bolt Gun was not. So if Space Marine 2 is actually good, I guarantee you don't escape an episode about it. To the editor, have you ever had to restrain yourself from leaving captions / showing notes, commenting on things in the podcast? / have you ever wanted to intentionally leave a note saying, sorry, cleaned this up the best I could on a perfectly normal chunk of the audio to pretend like you had to do a bunch of cleanup?
Well, that's fucking cheeky.
That's genius. Thanks for the idea, but now...
Honestly, I think Borrelio could add more captions to the video version. I enjoy the occasional one that you've thrown in, and I feel like there's a couple more. If there's something worthy of comment, if you know there's correction, or if you want to have a snarky reply about how things didn't go the way I thought they would during recording, I think more of that could be done, honestly, than less.
Well, I mean, Brad's never wrong, so there are no corrections.
Clip that. All right, the next one. My answer is 42. What is the question?
How many times will somebody ask the same 5 questions in the Q&A comment section without reading the top 5 questions?
So the next question. As mainly Magic players that started playing Warhammer, what was the difference in experience?
So both Magic and Warhammer have a strategy element going on of trying to plan out your game plan versus your opponent and trying to predict what they're going to do. And at the same time, there is a decent amount of randomness involved in both, but that randomness is substantially different in the two experiences. So in Magic, there is a lot of hidden information. That being, the cards in your opponent's hand, the cards in their deck, the card that's in your deck that you haven't seen yet. But Warhammer, the randomness is more in what the dice roll is going to end up having. So there are a lot of similarities and a lot of overlap between them. But fundamentally, there is still a learning curve.
I am shocked at how sober you sounded during that answer.
Hey man, it's been a solid hour since I stopped drinking, so I'm back.
Alright, so next question. What's your favorite soda? First of all, they're called Pop.
I mean, I don't know, they're called Coke.
You're not from Atlanta. Borrelio.
Soda is awful.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Wow.
You wonder why I underpay him. There's no carbonated drink you like?
None of them.
Seriously?
So I actually drank a lot of Coke when I was young, and I had stomach issues, and I stopped for like a year or two and never came back.
You're the problem, not the Coke.
I stopped drinking soda for about 2 years. It was fucking miserable.
You guys are addicted to sugar.
Yeah.
No, I actually don't drink any soda with sugar in it.
I absolutely am addicted to sugar because diet is disgusting.
So here's the thing. There's a pinned message in the general chat of the Patron Discord with an open offer.
Oh no.
That still stands open to this day. If you ever find these and ship these to me, I'll make you a co-host replacing either Eric or myself, your choice, until the supply runs out. An open offer I made in 2019 that is still open to this day.
And I am in full support.
It is White Tea Soda Pomegranate by Blue Sky.
Yep.
They stopped making it in like 2012.
I think it was a little bit later than that, but it was somewhere around there, yeah.
And my soul yearns. Bring me this.
Just make it appear on a Rick and Morty episode.
Yes. Well, I don't want anyone stabbed.
I do hate the fact that, like, both of us want that, and yet I know the first sip I take of it.
You're like, ew, this is disgusting. And then you keep
And
drinking.
then I'm going to drink
That's
it.
why it's
I'm going
so
to take
good.
the second sip, and I'm going to be like, it's still kind of bad. And then I've drunk the whole can and been like, that was good. I want another one.
Yeah, that sums up drinking that soda, and it's why it's so good. You drink it, you're like, that was terrible. And then you drink it, and you're like, that was terrible. And then you drink it, and you're like, that was terrible. And you just keep drinking it, and then it's done, and you're like, that was delicious.
So kind of like reading Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah, that's how Lord of the Rings people are. Yeah, they go, that was amazing after they read something terrible.
Wow.
All right, next question. Where's your Discord? I need to spam it with images of poorly painted Tau. It's behind a paywall that we mention on every episode, and if you pay us $5 whole a month, you can even be in the credits, and everyone can look at your poorly painted Tau. And honestly, if you don't pay $5 a month, you can probably still sneak your way in there because Borrelio never checks.
This is a comment.
This is a call out. Yes, this is me calling you out. Anyway.
It's fine, though. No worries.
Next question. Do you have a big hamster watering tube for the editor while it works on videos? I love that they call you an it. Not even they, just it.
I mean, they're referencing watering you with a hamster watering tube, so...
No, we don't have a watering tube for him, and it's like $105 right now.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's like $105 for a human-sized hamster watering tube. That's too much money.
I already knew that fact somehow.
Yeah.
I've been looking into human-sized watering tubes.
Like, we don't have the budget for that. We just kind of toss a cup of water over the edge and call it good. All right, Borrelio, how much more blackmail material do you need before you can get that raise?
Give me more, 2 months.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, this is a good one. All right, math time. I really enjoy playing Warhammer, but I hate the art side of the hobby. As such, I haven't played since high school, and as an adult, I no longer have an excuse for not having painted models. Hi, Anthony. I really hope this person's name is also Anthony, but I'm just making fun of one of our friends. What is the easiest way to either 1, get someone else to paint models for a reasonable price, or 2, find a group that doesn't give a fuck about painted or legit models? 2 is quite easy. Just have friends.
That is, yeah. Number 1 is also pretty easy. See, what you do is when you're really young, you have a friend, and you stay friends with them for about 20 years. They get married. And then you pay their wife a pretty minimal amount to paint their models.
Oh my god, you scammed her, but that's a different thing. All right, so let's talk about 1, because it's the longer of the 2. Not painting your models, as long as they're assembled and you can play with them, most playgroups are fine with that. You should still get shit for not painting your models, and I approve of your playgroup making fun of you. That's fine. Welcome to having friends. Now, to have someone paint your models for you, a reasonable price. This is something that people don't get. Time and materials is a thing.
Yeah, it's expensive.
How long do you think it would take someone to paint a 2,000 point army? Let's say a 4,000 point army so they have variety, so they have a full army.
I'm going to say 3 weeks.
That was kind of my thought, is under a month but over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Let's go with 3 weeks. So if it takes me 3 weeks to paint the army at 40 hours a week, 120 man hours.
Did you open up calculator for that?
I did.
I heard it. I was like, I heard that keyboard. Yep, that's calculator.
I'm on my numpad, baby. So we've got 120 man hours. What do you think a person's fair wage is? Saying you've got a U.S. citizen doing skilled labor.
What's McDonald's paying right now? 15, 16?
Let's give them $20 an hour. This is low. $2,400 plus materials. So if they have to buy your models, then plus materials, and if they have to buy your models, they're assembling them, which probably adds another week of man hours on top of it. So you're looking at getting your army painted is probably, I would say it's probably closer to $4,000, just because I lowballed at $20 an hour. This is a fair amount of money for the amount of hours spent.
Yeah.
So when you get into the hours for like what a project costs to have a human work on, it bloats quick. So that's why a lot of people act shocked when they hear like, oh my God, I can't believe they paid X $1,000 to get this army painted. That's insane. No, it isn't. That is a very normal cost to have someone work on something for weeks.
The real problem is that when you look online, so many artists
lowball for advertised stuff and then never paint a model for 2 years, like Miniac's video that I enjoy.
Even if they are painting, like they'll paint 1 or 2 models at the price, and then it's like, okay, you want a full army, that's not what the price actually is, kind of thing. And like that's just how the game's played, because trying to advertise yourself as an artist online is fucking impossible.
So yeah, that's a real answer, and that's a legitimate thing to do.
Outside of that, you can also keep an eye on just like the local Facebook pages and eBay and stuff like that for anybody that's trying to get rid of an army that's already painted. It might not be the best looking thing, but if your number 2 is don't care about it being painted, then maybe you're not so worried about how it looks.
All right, so that was a weirdly serious question.
Okay, so let's finish with an interesting one. If we're forced to pick a Space Marine chapter, what would you pick?
Do you have a favorite chapter? Do you remember the chapter episode, Borrelio?
I do.
He says, lying through his teeth.
Quick, let me Google it.
Okay, so here are your options.
Okay. I remember Space Wolves, Ultramarines, the yellow ones.
The yellow ones, exactly. That's about as memorable as they get.
I guess I would pick Blood Angels because of the color scheme, most likely.
It is a very good choice.
So, question, does Angels of Iron count?
What is Angels of Iron?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Did you just Google it?
No, that's just one that I happen to have Googled long ago and remember.
Okay. Sure, they count, Eric.
They've got, like, Kingdom Hearts keys on their thing. That's their signia or whatever.
That's Eric's favorite successor chapter right there.
Yep.
So mine, for one last bombshell, I have played more games of 10th edition as Space Marines than as any army I own. So my pick, from a pure lore standpoint, I'm going to pick Iron Hands simply because I like playing with vehicles in Space Marines, but that's an easy out. We all know that would be my pick. Recently, I have been playing a bunch of Dreadnought heavy lists in Space Wolves. So I'm going to give it to Space Wolves, my old nemesis, and say I think they've got a really fun slant list that I could just jam forever. So there you go.
Cool.
But honestly, Blood Angels and Iron Hands are probably my go-tos, just from a like, I like how one plays and I like the other one's lore because Dante's a boss.
Iron Hands is kind of your jam.
But Iron Hands painting scheme is kind of boring.
Oh yeah, it is. It absolutely is. Luckily, I played the Bloody Hands.
I think we're finally through them all. I mean, at least the ones that we've cherry-picked.
It's only been 5 hours here. It's 1:30 in the morning, boys. Are you ready to get up and edit?
Oh no.
No, I'm not.
I'm cutting half of this.
No, you're not.
Sure, go for it. I don't care.
Eric and my suffering.
Let's just keep going. The negotiators entered the chat.
All right, let's get out of here for the week.
Sounds good.